Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of AIMBOT. Am I morally bankrupt or them? And usually it's them. It's always them, right? No, I've done wrong things in my life. Yes, definitely. We can look back and say, hey, yeah, that's cool. I made mistakes, tried to amend, tried to get better. I think that's what morality is all about. It's sort of saying, how do we live our lives in a way that is socially not just socially acceptable, socially cohesive with other people. How do we make this thing work where everybody has different beliefs? And I think that bare minimum of rights has to be where we go for. Hey, Captain Bud, nice llama or alpaca. I don't know the difference, honestly. I'll be honest with you. Alpacas, llamas, I don't know the difference. They're essentially the same. I know that alpacas are slightly smaller than llamas, but I cannot tell the difference. The mysterious them. Yeah, I was just starting to look on sort of news coming in that I could talk about. Apparently, they're trying to get the death penalty on Luigi, which I'm really upset about. It's sort of, I didn't think New York had that penalty. I didn't think it existed in New York, so I'm not 100% sure what's happening there. I have to read up on it. But hello, Left-Handed Jedi. So good to see you. And hello, Phantom. So good to see you as well. I'm kind of tired today, but that's okay. And I did get like a copyright strike immediately upon waking up, which wasn't fun news. And it was from people that I'd previously asked permission to put their stuff up. So that wasn't fun. That was pretty I guess obnoxious or sort of a surprise. Very, very strange. But that's okay. I'll deal with it. I'll deal with it at some point. Yeah, because what the hell? Weird. That's okay. That's all right. Oh, it's the federal. Okay. I didn't think you guys had federal. I thought it was just in some states kind of thing. I thought it was just in some states, not federally. Really? Federal death penalty. Okay. It uses very rarely. Apparently, Biden commuted the federal death sentence of 37 men, leaving just 3 prisoners. Murder, treason, genocide, or the killing or kidnapping of a congressman, the president, or a Supreme Court justice. Interesting. Yeah, it's very weird that you have I guess you have some of the worst people out there who are still in prison, but I don't think I'm not 100% sure that Luigi's crime would be sort of one of sort of the great evil you would expect for that to be applied against. Even though I'm personally against the death penalty at all. I think it doesn't work. It's too expensive. It just seems to be a sort of this whole idea of a punitive justice system is just for Mangione. Yeah, yes, that's correct. Yeah. They just revive it just for him. Yeah, I don't think so. I think it is something there, aren't you? But usually sort of it's reserved for the most egregious of crimes. And even though, yes, this was horrible and it definitely was a murder, to say the most egregious of crimes, I'm not 100% sure I'm on board with that, Yeah, the violations of right. And I remember sort of hearing about that, Jessica. Good to see you. Oh, Andrew, good to see you. And yeah, it's really good to see you. And Archie, good to see you as well. I'm sorry, I'm talking too much. I'm tilting windmills in the house. The windmill has arrived at the house. Who else have I missed? Like a total noob. Who else have I missed? Um, critical of generated art. Yeah, I know, but I guess people like me with no artistic ability, we've got to get it from somewhere, and I understand. I understand. I really do. Um, yeah, I'm not sure about that, Phantom. He's, the amount of support behind him sort of makes it very, very difficult. Makes it very difficult. Pre-Civil War. Yeah, well, I heard he's enacting another travel ban, but instead of sort of religious countries, he's targeting just countries based upon politics, which is totally acceptable. I don't know. It's very, very strange. It's very, very strange. He should be rotting in prison. Who? Rittenhouse? Rittenhouse? Regarding Rittenhouse? Well, Rittenhouse is a really like I just the thing that got me about Rittenhouse. I get that. I don't know what he was doing there in the first place. Like he basically was an underage kid, and he's still a kid. He wasn't old enough to vote. Um, he wasn't old enough to vote, and he is given a gun and sent to like whoever allowed him to be there. And a lot of it, I blame the police for allowing him to be on there instead of saying, hey, you are a child with a gun, get the hell out of here. Yeah, that's basically it. And yeah, I know he crossed straight lines. That's completely unacceptable. It a lot of it is just all wrong. Like the fact that he was there at all, he was allegedly provoking the crowd. People did charge at him. But why was he there in the first place is totally, totally beyond me. Um, I feel like there was a whole bunch of people who sort of, you know, um, did a big toxic masculinity and got their guns and went up there to protect businesses. I don't think they were up there to protect businesses. I think that they were looking to sort of, stroke their ego. Mm. I don't know why the police were on their side. It was strange. It was strange. Yeah. And the weird thing, like the first guy was like bad, but the second guy he was trying to de-escalate the situation, and Rittenhouse shot first. I heard the lawyers say if the other guy shot first, then he probably would have gotten off as well. And it's just this weird um it's just this weird thing of um you know you're basically saying, hey, if you think your life is in danger, you're allowed to end the other person, kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, but you've got to take responsibility for being there in the first place. You really do. Yeah, I get that. I totally get that, tilting. I really do. I agree. I agree. And the whole thing of having um like seriously, it was just you know rioters and stuff. Like seriously, what are you doing sending civilians like with no training whatsoever in de-escalation and riot techniques into that sort of situation is beyond me, especially people that are underage. I don't understand it. I really don't. I don't know what he was doing there. I don't know, like, where does this behavior become vigilantism? Sort of acting like law enforcement, because they were giving orders to other civilians. They were telling people to get off the street. They were sort of ordering people around. Like, if you're carrying a gun around on the street and ordering people as if you are the police, why is that not vigilantism? I don't understand the difference. I really do not. Because at that point, you're acting as if you are law enforcement. You really are. And the thing that you've got to remember is all of that occurred because the social contract was broken. And I want to talk briefly about the social contract, because a lot of people sort of don't understand sort of the basics of what it is. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not some kind of sociologist or sort of social expert, but at least I understand the premise of the social contract. It basically it basically is a implicit agreement. Like, it's not a contract that you sign. There's no piece of paper. Like, a lot of these sort of these sort of right-wing people go, well, I didn't sign any contract with anybody. No, it's basically an implied contract by being part of a society, by being part of the sort of liberal Western country that we're in. Basically, that we essentially have said, hey, we will accept the rule of our representatives. We will elect people in order to represent us, and we will abide by the rules that they make under certain specific conditions. Those conditions are a certain amount of rights, and we've heard the sort of thing before. Oh, you think that rights exist? Well, yeah, but they're concepts. We've made them up. We have, like, rights aren't this thing that a god hands down and they're objective and stuff like that. Essentially, people have said, hey, we will allow you to create laws and regulations that bind us. In exchange for that, there are certain rights that people will not accept being violated. Okay, will not accept. Like, so we will obey the police. We will sort of be held by the court system. We will be subject to laws and enforcements as long as there are certain rights that are not violated. A freedom of religion is one. A right to due process is another, like the right to be represented, the right to sort of a liberty of freedom of movement, freedom of choice, a right to life, and sort of a sort of equality within society, at least that everybody is treated the same under the law. And it's that last one I want to focus on. It's that last one I really want to focus on. Basically, you're sort of saying that, hey, we agree to be governed by all of these laws as long as everybody is governed by the same laws. Essentially, that is part of the social contract. And more today, we're seeing that, hey, not everybody is governed by the same laws, right? When you have, say, in the US, the leader of the country just flagrantly ignoring laws and regulations, the main person. Hello, Mama. So good to see. I haven't seen you in ages, and I have missed your wonderful curlers. Like seriously, I've missed you, Mama. Where have you been all my life? Okay, so when this starts to happen, when you get a breakdown of say the lawmakers or the executive not obeying the laws that govern the nation and basically violating the social contract, which says that everybody is governed under the same laws, the eventuality of the social contract breaking is that people will not follow the laws themselves. Okay, that is the problem that they don't see. They don't. So when a police officer unalives or has caused the death of somebody and they're not going to be held accountable, that goes directly to a breaking of the social contract. We allow police to have this power as long as they abide by certain regulations that restrict that power in regards to our rights. As soon as you violate that, you break that social contract, things will get nasty and really when people go, well, why am I following these laws if you don't? Right? Why am I following these laws if you won't give me my basic rights? That's essentially the social contract breaking down. And it seems like the right wing don't understand what that means. It's it is a problem that they think that they can break their end of the social contract and nothing will happen. And they're wrong. They're absolutely wrong. Once it reaches a tipping point, things get real. And I cannot stress enough that it is not the thin blue line that keeps people in place. It's not the sanctity of modern democracy that keeps people in line. It is the social contract that keeps people in line. Like, the police cannot stop the population. The army can't stop the population because they're made up of the population. So it's yeah, and I totally agree, Left-Handed Jedi. I totally agree. It hasn't been like that for a long time. I agree. I agree. And yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I get you. I really do. I really, really, really do. I 100% do. Mm. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But I mean, that isn't breaking the social contract in and of itself. It's when those rights are violated to a great degree when you'll really see the social contract break. And that happened with George Floyd. This cop, did completely violated the law, and it didn't look like he was going to be held accountable. Um, it's I don't know whether that was true, but the perception was he was not going to be held accountable. I mean, who was the person? I think it was Breonna Taylor. Is it Breonna Taylor? I do apologize, I've gotten that name wrong. Breonna Taylor. It was a medical worker who they busted into her house and shot her, and it was just like they didn't announce themselves. They just busted in, and it was just awesome lack of responsibility for what they did. But I think they think that can be only broken one side, and it can't be. And that's sort of what sociology says, that the liberal democracy is held together. Yeah, EB3. I do feel like I've looked at your YouTube channel and you seem to be a troll for me, but prove me wrong. Arrange the debate on what? You haven't even said what you want to debate. This is why I'm sort of very, very cautious when it comes to people that say they want to debate but have no topic. Do you feel me? You haven't even talked about a topic or any kind of format or anything like it. But yeah, no, hit me up. I've got an email address. I usually do debate organization via email. That's not a problem. If you don't have a place to debate, I can probably set one up, grab a neutral moderator, And yeah, I was getting that feeling, to be honest with you, Jim Bob. The rare occasion we agree, I am getting that feeling. But hey, hit me up on email and I'll see. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, go for it. I've got an email address there. Send it over. Probably want to suggest a topic. A topic. A topic, a proposition. I made some claims on some place is not a proposition, my friend. You've got to go email me. Yeah. I find it a lot more conducive. Thank you. Yeah. So I do not want the social contract to break. I do not want to. I have family in law enforcement. I have family who represent minorities. I have a lot of family around who have varying levels of jobs. I have family who are emergency workers. I do not want that social contract to break because there is no thin blue line holding society together. There's no sort of idea or concept of a country holding the country together. It is the social contract that holds it together. So yeah, and I wanted to mention that because this kind of thing where like Luigi Mangione, he obviously has violated the law, right? He's definitely violated the law, but and I'm not condoning what he's done. I do not support violence in political circles at all, because if you start to use violence, violence will just be used back to you. That's essentially what will happen. Like, there is no way out of it once you start. So I don't condone what he did, but I do understand that he at least believed that the social contract had been broken by the very people that he attacked and unalived. He believed they had broken the social contract. So I think that the one takeaway from that Mangione thing is that it will get worse the more you allow people to be immune from the law or ignore it completely or have a set of laws that do not apply to some people. It will get worse. They haven't proven beyond a reasonable doubt that Luigi did it. Yeah, I don't know the specifics. I'm just assuming that he did, right? Assuming that he did. We're talking about a CEO who was responsible for the deaths, the unwarranted deaths of so many people. He was even using AI to reject their claims for his healthcare without merit. Like, he was basically defrauding people. He was under investigation for that very thing. Now, I never, ever, ever, ever condone violence, because it only leads to more violence. But at the same time, I do understand that if you break that social contract, exactly that thing will start to happen. Because the people who are under they will not uphold their side and follow the law if the establishment people, like the legislative, the executive, the judiciary, are not upholding their side. And that's a problem. That's a huge problem. Look, EB, like, seriously, if you want to debate, just message me. I'll get a neutral moderator. That's fine. That's not a problem at all. That's not a problem at all. Yeah, the Doge cuts. And that's a very, very prescient point, Jessica. Very prescient, because you're talking also, he's made huge cuts to veteran affairs and things, right? Like veterans affairs. Like, do you really want to start treating ex-military like this? If they don't believe that the country's going to take care of them, they're not going to uphold the laws of the country. Like, it's a recipe for disaster, in my opinion. Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about, Jedi. Their blatant disregard for the sort of sanctity of life. They ignore people, they let them die, and then people get mad. I get you. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, mate. Yes, that's what I'm saying. And if veterans start to go after the people that are doing this, a lot of people will just go, "Hey, you cut them off when we promised to take care of them in exchange for their service and laying down their lives for their country." Right? That's what we did. We said, "Hey, if you are prepared to lay down your life for the country, and you give your life and your health and your mental well-being in exchange for that, we will take care of you." And we're breaking that. We're violating that agreement, that tacit agreement that we have to say, "Hey, we're going to do this." It's a bad idea all round. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. It's not right. It's not right. And sort of you can extend that even to all the seniors and the pensioners that are getting cut off, the older people. We have this tacit, this unspoken agreement that if you work for the country, or you put in time, for your country, we will take care of you. And it is horrific that we're seeing that all of that undercut, so that rich people can get just that extra bit richer. It's absolutely ridiculous, because um like, you can't think of these people as just in a vacuum. They all have, sons and daughters and granddaughters and grandsons, and they're not going to like that. Their grandpa worked to the bone building up a country, and you basically said, "Well, screw you." No. And I agree, Larry. I totally agree. I 100% agree. Health share should be guaranteed for veterans. Absolutely. And a lot of the times, the um the injuries and the conditions that they do have are a direct result of what they went through. And I might add, even stuff like PTSD, right, which affects a huge amount of veterans. That is not them being weak. That isn't a matter of, "Oh, well, these people, they're just not coping." That is not what it is. We understand this and what PTSD is. PTSD is a physiological reaction of the body being on alert for way longer than it can cope with, right? We understand what that actually is. Shell shock, combat fatigue, PTSD. It is the human mind is not it's not evolved to be on that high alert in that much stress for that amount of time. There's nothing that sort of is weak about somebody with PTSD at all. It's not a matter of being strong or weak. It's a matter of being in a situation far longer than your mind or body can cope with it, because we have limitations. And that's not sort of oh, you're just, if you were stronger, you wouldn't have that limitation. No, not at all. Not at all. Not in any way, shape, or form. It is just the neurological system not being able to handle what you are doing to it. It's got nothing to do with it. Well, tilting, I mean, Trump has never been in the military. I think he got a medical exemption from the draft for bone spurs. So he's never been into the military at all. Hell, I've never been in the military, right? So I can't, I'm not gonna say, "Hey," I have a great respect for the military, but I've never been in it myself. You know, I wouldn't pretend that I know more than somebody who's been in the military. Anyway, let's get started because I've had my rant for the day. I feel better. Yeah, look, I'm always available for debate. If just email me, like it's not a great big deal. Like I'm not hiding or anything. Just email me. I set up debate by emails. I like people to have I like people to have topics or propositions already come up with, but I can come up with them. You know, propositions are fine. I can come up with propositions. Okay, so AIMBOT, am I morally bankrupt or them? Basically, we are going through Reddit. Am I the a-hole? So really, we're looking and doing some consensual and solicited, I might add, judgment of people's actions or their future actions. Upon rare occasions, we get, will I be the arsehole, basically, if I do this? Now, morality for me, I use secular humanism. Not everybody agrees with that, and that's fine. Really, I think the question is, morality is just what we ought to do, like what we ought to do, what we ought not to do. Now, a lot of people have said, well, if you don't have objective morality, it doesn't really count. Why? I don't understand why. Because we can say, hey, we ought to do this in order to get to a certain goal. There's no problem with that. If we want a certain society, what ought we do? If we want, say, for instance, a society with the maximum amount of people, then sort of going around, we ought not to go around just unaliving people in that case, right? If you want a society that has certain attributes, like if you want a society ruled by religion, then we ought to follow the prescriptions of that religion, right? Or we ought to convert people to that religion. Now, that's not something I want, so I don't follow that moral system at all. And really, it should be conveyed what the reasonable expectation of any moral system is. Where will it lead us? Where will it get us? And I think that that's an important thing. I find problems with any religious system that is not secular, does not allow any other religion in it. We're at a point in history where sort of, you know, I think people want to have a unanimous religious, you know, sort of a unanimous, like 100% religion in a society, and I don't think that will work. It's the Western societies are hopelessly intermingled with all kinds of different religions, hopelessly so. Like there is no real way to go back to a one religion state. Like, for instance, we have one religion states in the Middle East. Like, for instance, Iran follows the Shia branch of Muslim religion, and it's fairly, you know, ubiquitous there. Everybody's basically Muslim, but that's not a society that anybody would really want to live in. They are oppressive. They oppress women. They oppress all kinds of people. They're very, very regressive, which is a shame because before America happened to Iran, they were actually quite progressive. I'm immoral. No, I'm moral. You know where I'm going for. I really think that secular humanism is the way to go. It's sort of because the reason why I say that is because oftentimes we have differences in religion, say in Christianity or Muslim religion, and they disagree on what to do. You know, sometimes the way they work it out is they literally go for what's in the best well-being of people, what will cause people to be happy and healthy. You know, that's what they will go to, and that's essentially secular humanism is skipping all of the, you know, God tells us to do X stuff and just going for what makes people happy and healthy. Yeah, that's really sad. If and Let's Farm is right. If you look at pictures from the 60s and 70s, it's just a very normal, you know, irreligious, secular country where people are generally happy and, you know, chatting out in the open in public places, having good times and stuff. It's really horrible what happened to Iran. And I do know people whose families fled Iran. I do. A lot of them came to Australia, in fact. Some came to Western Australia. They fled Iran from what was happening in there. So, yeah, I've spoken to people who came from Iran, and they're very young at the time. I did know a psychologist whose family came from there, and he was very young when they fled the country, but flee they did. Yeah, women outside in normal clothes. Yeah. Well, the latest I saw was that the protests that the women are doing is still ramping up. There was a woman who stripped down naked and basically stood on top of a police car, and the police had no idea what to do. Like, they were standing there with no idea what to do. Like, they had no idea. Like, what are we supposed to do about this? It's pretty Iran keeps it quiet, but it is heating up a lot over there. And that's sort of something I would like to ask religious people. Like, do they want the same thing to happen? Like, is this the way that you want to go with the police, like, preventing women from speaking out and clamping down on them? Is that a healthy, happy society to you? Because I don't see how it could be. I don't see how it's even possible. Now you're making me explain it. Yeah, I'll do that to you. I'll do that to you. They love Persia but hate the IR of Iran. They use a different flag with the Archimenid crest on it, I think. Oh, okay, I didn't know that. Yeah, I'll get to it, EB. I'll get to it. It's just I'm busy right now. I'm doing my weekly AIMBOT session. And speaking of AIMBOT, let's do some judgments. Now, just for the record, these haven't been curated. They haven't been selected. They're just coming up randomly. I will take the first one on the website. First come, first served. And I have not pre-read them, so these are new to me, just as they are presumably to you. But yeah, let's go and find out what thing. If the lettering is what should you do? Stand and cheer. Well, yeah, but I mean the judiciary and the religious institute of the oh god, I can't remember what his name is. I've had a mental blank. The Ayatollah, right? They're hopelessly intermingled. Ayatollah. I've forgotten the name of it. So yeah. The problem is that, and the problem is really with the type of Muslims that have gotten their claws into the government there, because the Ayatollah is basically, I mean, they're basically Shiite Muslim. Now, Shiite differs from Sunni Muslims, that Shiites believe that their religious leaders are descended from Muhammad, right? So they kind of have this this weird system where they have a direct bloodline from the Prophet Muhammad, whereas Sunni Muslims generally will have a council that sort of represent the people. So Shia and Sunni, their major difference is on how the religious leader has actually been appointed. Now, the Shia, because they have this this almost a what do you call it? A feudal kind of system. It's kind of a, well, you're descended, or a aristocracy kind of thing. There's only certain people that will ever be leader of the religion. and they're not represented by councils like the Sunnis are. So it's very family centric and aristocratic, and they will lay down the law for others with. I mean, they don't do it directly, but they sort of give these proclamations, these sort of, I think they're called fadiths or something. I think. It's not. I keep thinking hadith, but hadith is the stories of Muhammad. Anyway. It's these proclamations that are sort of then expected to be interpreted by the secular society. It's very, very overbearing. Shahada. Yeah, it's Shahada. Yeah, and you'll find these people, the people that fled Iran, they're very cool people. They're awesome, absolutely awesome. What's sad is that the one of the Iranian guys I know was horrendously treated in school because he was Middle Eastern kind of thing. A flaw with our own society is that we tend generally judge people as other if they don't fall in line with our sort of Western expectations. Fatwa? I don't think that's what I'm thinking of, Jessica. I think that is a prescription not to do something. It's a binding legal opinion. I think it's a bit. Yeah, you could be right. But I don't think that's handed down by the Ayatollah. That's sort of by certain legal scholars and happens more in Sunni tradition. Anyway, Tampon Saver. Okay, that's one hell of a name. Okay. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother-in-law to stop picking on my kids, or he's not coming on vacation? No, absolutely not is my first thing. Why is he picking on your kids? Like, why at all are you picking on kids? What? Okay. No, that's a Trump, Andrew. Budum. That's a Trump. That's slang for a fat twat. That's Trump. That's Trump. My first instinct is to say absolutely. Just don't pick on kids, man. Like, seriously. What the hell? Oh, good, Andrew. All good, mate. All good. I have 3 kids. Rob's 16, Lisa 14 female. So Rob is 16 male, Lisa 14 female, and Anne 9 female. Lisa is autistic, and her special interest is Taylor Swift. Okay, so we have these special interests, right? Like, if you don't understand autistic people, we have these special interests as we go through our lives, and we're very, very specialized in them. And they can be very overwhelming and very sort of all-encompassing. Now, it's interesting. In when I was younger, my special interest was D&D, right? And sort of I can probably still tell you all of the damages for all of the weapons in the game. So certain games have been sort of my special interest, but I do have other things that pop up. Like, I'll get an interest in X thing and I will just relentlessly pursue it. So, I mean, Taylor Swift, there's worse things to be interested in. I don't really care about Taylor Swift. You know, I don't really care. Rob and Anne go along with it and indulge her. They're good kids who care and support one another. And Rob and yes, Anne get attention and support for their interests too. Okay, cool. Cool. That sounds healthy. Well, I mean, I'm a white middle-aged man, and Taylor Swift does not upset me in the slightest kind of thing. Like, yeah, and I think that, yeah, no, I agree, Purple. She has some positive messages for people. Sure, sure. I totally get it, you know? I mean, as far as celebrities go, she's pretty innocuous, you know, like she apparently lives in a cottage and has lots of cats, and, you know, she writes about, you know, in certain ways being awkward and, you know, being dumped and stuff. Like, you compare that with someone like say Ye, you know, Kanye, and what he's doing, and you're just like, wow, she's just not doing bad things at all. Like, I mean, what can I say? There hasn't made good music in the 80s. Well, it depends on your taste in music, Jedi. It really does. I don't know. Some, like, come on, my friend, some 80s music is absolutely tragic. Let's face it. You're an old white man? Never knew that, Titan. Don't worry about Titan. He's just trying to make young people mad. That's his entire goal. And plus, there was some good music in the 90s. I still stand by, you know, some of the grunge era music was actually quite good. I did like myself some Pearl Jam, like some Nirvana. Yeah, Chili Peppers. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. I totally agree. There has been some good 90s bands. There's been some bad 90s music. Don't get me wrong. There's been some tragically bad 90s music, but hey, hey. Yeah, I'm right there with you, EB. I actually liked Oasis. Yeah. Don't Look Back in Anger. You know, fantastic. Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'm with you. My brother-in-law Hector's entire personality. So the 90s and 90s was my time, right? 90s was my time. So most people don't understand the grunge era, right? Most people don't understand it. I went through the grunge era. I was a grunge kid. I absolutely loved the whole grunge message. So the grunge was a pushback to the 80s over consumerism. Like, the 80s was all about buying stuff, you know, getting stuff, you know, Wall Street, being rich, you know, all of that kind of stuff, right? All of that stuff. It was about mass consumerism. The grunge era was a pushback to that. Yeah, I already mentioned Pearl Jam. Oh, Foo Fighters. Why Foo Fighters? Come on now. Come on. Come on. Come on. Um, so so the grunge era was the attempt at basically saying, hey, we're not going to consume things that are uppriced, and, you know, we're going to wear the crappiest stuff. We're going to wear old jeans. We're going to wear um you know, your sort of flannelette shirts, just stuff that was really cheap. You could find them at op shops. Nobody cared how you wore your hair. Nobody cared what you bought, what you were wearing, what you did. Like, just that you weren't buying into the mass consumerism. Just the selling out was the worst thing you could do ever, kind of thing. That was the cardinal sin, was just selling out and being, you know, beholden to the corporate, monotonous, horrible marketing regime that was a product of the 80s. It was just a pushback from the 80s. The sad part about the grunge era is that basically they took all of that stuff from the grunge era, like the flannelette shirts and the really ripped jeans and stuff like that, and they sold the revolution sort of back to us. They basically took all of these things, marketed it as, you know, all of this cool stuff, and then sold it to the next generation coming down, or, you know, the later generation of the grunge era, which is tragic because it was all about not giving in to the corporate greed, basically. And, you know, they just wrapped up the rebellion and sold it back to us, which is terrible. Just terrible. Oh, Weezer's great. Weezer's fantastic. You gotta love the Weezer. Mm. I'm on board with Weezer. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, that was the idea, and it sort of it failed completely because it was turned into a style and a look and was, you know, obviously sold, which is crazy. I've never seen a rebellion sold back to the people, like by the people you're rebelling against, to the people that are rebelling. It's wild. It's wild. Soundgarden's not bad. I wasn't a huge fan, but they weren't bad. You know, Black Hole Sun and stuff. Yeah, Furious. I'll pay that. I'll pay that. Maybe begrudgingly. No, I'll pay it. I'll pay it. They definitely were a thing. Yeah, definitely. My brother-in-law Hector's entire personality is trying to rile people. Okay. Yeah, so basically her brother-in-law is just a troll. You know, the whole, it's just a joke, bro. Yeah, the problem with people like that is they don't like it when it happens to them. When they get punked or they get trolled, they get upset. That is why counter-trolling works, right? That's why it works. It's because people that troll don't like being trolled. So that's why counter-trolling works, because usually, you know, when people try to troll me, usually it's the person that is trying to troll that will get more upset than I do. And it's because they don't like when it happens to them, which is sort of, you know, we have to talk about, well, why is it that you will do things to other people that you don't like having done to you, which is very, very strange to me. Like, I will never go out of my way to troll people, but if you troll me, I will make you furious because I have a lot of experience in doing that. I know Titan's got a lot of experience in doing that as well. I'm very aware of that. I will never troll Titan because I fear his superpower of anti-trolling trolling. If that makes sense. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? I'm assuming it does. Yeah, Gorillaz is a weird one. I mean, that wasn't even a real band. That was a weird one. Really good music on it, though. I do agree with you. I absolutely agree. Yeah, okay, that depends on the band, really. I mean, don't forget that like Kiss was a hair band, really. I mean, really. Um, Super childish, but whatever. He's family. Except my husband is out of the country, so I guess he thinks he gets to do whatever he wants. Okay, so your brother-in-law Hector does whatever he wants when. Okay. A few weeks ago, he started needling at Lisa by making fun of Taylor Swift using lots of childish name-calling words. Okay, don't do that. Don't do that. That's horrible. That's absolutely horrible. Because that's going to matter. That's going to matter to somebody on the spectrum. Intentionally using the wrong word for fans and stuff, just really immature kid stuff. Don't do that to somebody who's on the spectrum. That's. Oh, how dare you? Because you're fundamentally incapable of trolling effectively. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true. Maybe I would come on now. Feel the love. No, I get what you're saying. I could probably surprise you, but generally I won't. Yeah, don't do that to autistic people. Don't intentionally misrepresent their special interest, because it will, you know, so so there was a study done called the double empathy study. So what the double empathy study said was that it's not just neurodiverse people, autistic people, that have a problem understanding neurotypical people. It's also the other way around, right? It is the fact that diverse people, autistic people, are actually communicating fine between themselves. They're actually very effective. What that study found was that it's not just autistic people having trouble understanding neurotypical people, it's neurotypical people having trouble understanding autistic people. And both of those groups can communicate fine between them. The real surprise of the study was that the autistic people were actually communicating more effectively than the neurotypical people. They actually had more information conveyed in less time than the neurotypical people. They're actually very effective communicators. They just have trouble bridging the gap between autistic forms of communication, which is data dense communication, with neurotypical people, which have a lot more extraneous information, a lot more sort of cues and signals about how you feel about it, how things are interpreted in a sort of peripheral way. Basically, it's that problem. It is the mirror problem, yes. Now, I mean, people have said, hey, you communicate really well for an autistic person. Yeah, I've had a lot of practice, a whole heap. But, you know, when you start to sort of misrepresent data, like the actual communication, the actual information, especially on a topic that an autistic person has a special interest, it's going to cause a lot of friction. Yeah, well, yeah. I get that. I get that. But, you know, that study was sort of phenomenal in the way that I think, let me have a look. It was a really good researcher that sort of, you know, went, well, if it is a problem of autistic people not being able to communicate, then they shouldn't be able to communicate between themselves that well. Because, you know, any communication problem, it isn't a communication problem so much as a difference in the way that people are thinking about things. And that's okay. I totally, you know, it's not a one-way issue. It is Damien Milton who did the study, which is really cool. Really cool. Yeah, Damien Milton. Yeah, I don't really, you know, I don't diagnose people. I wouldn't say whether he is or not, but I don't think, like, there's nothing that speaks to me like he is, you know, like nothing at all. I don't know though. A few weeks ago, he started needling. Yep. Okay. Did that. Lisa knows that not everyone likes Taylor Swift and some people even hate her. Yeah. No, that's fair. Some people do. Some people do. And that's fine. I get you. One of her best friends hates her. She's not unable to hear different opinions. She has her own. I'm sure she'd love to share with you all if you had 4 hours to spare. No, that's fair. That's fair. I got you. He would say, well, Swiffers did it X, Y, Z. And she would say, Uncle Hector, it's Swifties. And he would say it again to needle at her. Oh, that's so mean. That is so mean. Yeah, EB, I have to agree with that. That's true. That's true. But really, we sort of put a spot at saying, hey, this is sort of, you know, on the autism spectrum past there and the neurotypical spectrum on the other side. A lot of psychology these days is going in for a spectrum-based thing, you know, like everybody to a certain degree is OCD, right? That everybody has obsessive compulsive things that happen, like you know, I mean, I've gone and checked to see if the door is locked and you know, things like that, but I'm not obsessive compulsive, right? It's when it causes a problem in your life that they actually categorize it as a disorder, or it has potential to cause problems in your life. So yeah, I get what you're saying, EB. I get what you mean. Why do you keep using the wrong word? She told you the right word. Rob was in the room, I was not. So her husband corrected, Hector can say whatever he wants and to cry about it. Oh, come on, dude. Seriously? Rob said, it just seems like you're going out of your way to upset Lisa. Look, I mean, there are some men that the entire way they know how to talk to women is to basically hassle them. And I don't understand. Like, I've got no idea where they got this idea from. It's so weird. You know, any woman, any female person at all, they just want to hassle, and I don't understand it. Rob asked her to finish what she was talking about and to ignore Hector. This is where I came into the room and Hector waved the kids and said, Roberta's getting real mad someone's joking about mother. Roberta, really? I wasn't in the room, so I didn't hear the comment about me, and Rob said I wouldn't get it. Ugh. Before I could say anything, Rob said, bro, did you just really call me a girl's name? Are you 12? Yeah. I kind of agree. This is kind of arrested development stuff. Like, are you acting that childishly? Like, that's what I feel like when anybody hassles my accent. It's like, how old are you? You do realize that all different people in the world have different accents, and it's not like I don't understand it. It's so weird. It's like they don't have an accent. You know, just because you've got an American accent doesn't mean you don't have an accent. What, like, grow up. I put my hands up and said, okay, enough. Hector, stop. He said, I'm raising soft kids who can't take a joke. I said, he's being so effing rude and that he wouldn't be acting like this if my husband was home. I said, if he still wants to go with us to Colorado in the summer like we were planning, he has to stop now or he's not coming. This set him off and he said, I had no right to do that. Yes, she does. Absolutely she does. And that I'm being a controlling yak. What? The sort of bison-like, hairy, woolly bison yak? A yak? Like a Tibetan yak? Weird. Over Taylor Swift. I said, no. Fuck Taylor Swift. This is about you being mean to your niece because her dad isn't home. Yeah. He said, fuck you and good luck next time we have a problem. We're on his own. He took his Costco chicken. Oh, wow. Okay, Costco chicken. Interesting. And left. I swear he must have immediately gone running to my mother-in-law because she called me to ask for what really happened, and she sighed a lot. Yeah. The mother-in-law knows the mother knows what's up. I asked her if I was overreacting, and she said she just hopes we can work it out because that trip was all he had to look forward to since he was laid off from work. Look, okay, so I don't want to minimize just how upsetting it is to be laid off from work. I've been made redundant. Basically, it's laid off from work. Most people will be made redundant at some point in their lives, and it sucks. Okay, it sucks. It really does. Don't ever hassle somebody for that. Don't give them crap for that. It is very, very upsetting. It's very, very horrible to have worked, been a model employee, done your best, worked really hard, and just you're laid off because you were the last one to join, or you were on probation, or one of these things. You know, at the same time, if you're taking that out on a 14-year-old, go see somebody, go get some help from somewhere, go talk to somebody, because seriously, that isn't cool. I hate causing drama in the family, so am I the asshole? I'm out of line. No, and more no. Like, stop trolling a 14-year-old. Like, seriously, I don't have a problem with that. I don't think there should be any problem with that. I think maybe talking to him and saying, hey, like, I get you were laid off. You know, do you want to talk about it? Maybe being a bit more supportive in that regard. But, you know, if you've just said, hey, stop hassling my child because you're being an asshole to them, and then you're basically like, no, F you. I'm sorry, but stop. Like, seriously. Wow. Should the poster have told their brother-in-law not to come on the trip? Like, seriously, I think that relationships are different. And have, um, if you have, a relationship with your brother that you joke around with each other, that's fine. But obviously, he does not have this relationship with his niece. He really doesn't. So I don't know why he's hassling her. Now, I'm going to put the poll up. Feel free to vote. If you want another option, tough. YouTube only has 4, which I'm kind of annoyed at, but that's all they have. So feel free to vote. I'm going to go through what the Redditors say, and then I'll go through your comments. Perfect Ring says, not the arsehole. You should be proud of your son for standing up for his sister. Yeah, exactly. The brother-in-law does not deserve to go for being a nasty piece of work. Yeah, and that's the thing. People will be obnoxious and then go, oh, well, your boundaries that you're setting, you can't take a joke. These are exactly the same people that will go, if it's done to them, will be the most furious ever. Like, there's consequences to you being a complete jerk. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't think there is. I understand that, hey, if I'm a jerk to somebody, they're not going to invite me to places. Even if I think it's relevant. Like, I kind of, let's take, for instance, I was talking to somebody about echo chambers at one point, and that there's a lot of rooms that I've been in where they'll have certain rules and regulations. Like, I go into Christian rooms and they'll say no blaspheming and no swearing. Now, I understand that if I want to stay in the room, I can't do that. If I do that, like, I'm not the arbiter of what is right and wrong in somebody else's space. Because the reason why is because if I want them to abide by what I set in my space, I've got to abide by what they set in their space. It's reciprocity at a very, very fundamental level. Like, that's the sense that we have, that if you respect me, I'll respect you. If you fail to respect me, I won't respect you. It is reciprocity. It is that two-way street of having a understanding of our situation, that, hey, if you don't like this, I won't do that to you, and then you shouldn't do the things to me that I don't like. That is the basis for respect. That is where it comes from. So I'm very careful, as much as I can, in those rooms to abide by the rules. At the same time, I have rules for my chat. No proselytizing or preaching, and no bigotry against minority groups or, sort of anybody really. No bigotry and sort of hassling people for protected class. And those are my rules. And if you violate it, I'll kick you out. Just as I understand that if I violate their rules, they'll kick me out. So just like this, if you have a boundary for your 14-year-old niece that you won't prey upon her neurodiversity to upset her about her interests, then if you violate that, you're given the ass, you're kicked out. And that's totally fair. That is a boundary you've set for your daughter, which is fair enough. If your daughter doesn't mind it, well, she can communicate that. Rob is a very good son, has always been protective of his sisters. Yeah, Rob seems like a good guy. Good guy. Calling him Roberta? Like, seriously, there's a 16-year-old going, what the hell? How old is this Hector guy? I mean, he's probably around at least 30, going on 40. I mean, seriously? Why is it that 16-year-old is like being the more mature person in this situation? Like, that's crazy. I'm very grateful for that, because I didn't have the same relationship with my brother, sadly. What an ass. Yeah, no, I get it. Not the ass. Oh, you protected your kids. Your son seems very wise beyond his years and brave to stand up to a family member like that. There's a perfectly reasonable, natural consequence for the uncle to face. He has to be agreeable and kind to be invited on family vacations. That's not a huge stretch. No, it's not. I mean, he doesn't have to be kind. He just has to not be an arsehole, really. Like, that's not a huge ask. It's not a huge ask, you know? I hope he can come around. I'm glad your mother-in-law didn't like completely take his side, but it sounds like she's a huge enabler. I don't know about that. I mean, it sounds like she has had those issues before and she doesn't have the energy to take it up. Like she just sighed a lot, like she knows what he's like, right? She absolutely knows what he's like. I'm not 100% sure her saying you know, um she just hopes we can work it out because that trip was all that he had. I think it's more his side, and I would be willing to guess that the mother-in-law would be saying, "Hey, we've talked about this. You're mean to these kids. They don't like it. Yeah, no, I get you. I totally agree with you, Beerius, and Ken Hovind is another. Yeah. I mean, it's incredible the broken relationships that man has left in his wake, and he thinks it's somebody else's fault. Like at that point, you've got to be looking at yourself, right? You've got to be taking a hard look at yourself and saying, "Hey, why?" You know, yeah, no, I don't think so either. Purple, I don't think so either. I really don't. There's a lot of irony in saying, I hope you can work it out because that trip was all he had to look forward to since being laid off from work. Well, if he cared about the trip, maybe he should be grateful and respectful to his family so as not to put it at risk. Maybe he's a grown effing man and shouldn't be coddled with vacations just so he has something to look forward to. Make sure your husband is on board, but brother-in-law will go to him next and attack your parenting on your logic and your teachings. You have your head on straight. Perhaps with your husband present, you can have an adult conversation with your brother-in-law about the role of jokes with your kids, and that his jokes lead heavily with negativity, from making fun of topics to calling people the wrong names just to mess with them, like classic playground stuff. And if he wants a role in the family, he needs to do better. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I've got nieces and nephews. I would never do that to them. Like, there's no way. There's no way. Um, Not the arsehole. Honestly, it's a little weird for me to be your husband's brother hanging out at your house while your husband is away. Well, not really, no. I mean, he's their uncle. Is this strange for others? No, not really. Both of the brothers will come over a few times a week, check in with us while he's gone. Grandma and grandpa at least once a week too. Sister don't know. Yeah, no, it's a little weird that you think it's weird for family to visit family. Yeah, no, I don't get that. No, it's not. It's like they're his nieces and nephews. It's weird. It's weird. Sounds like the people won in Wisconsin. Wasn't that the vote for the Supreme Court judge in the Wisconsin Supreme Court judge? Results. Susan Crawford wins Supreme Court seat. Okay. So that's really good because it was a sort of test case to see whether a multi-billionaire can buy an election, right? So he funneled tons of money into it. Interestingly enough, that's great. They're projected to win. Okay. Decision Desk HQ. Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, no, I was a little as well because it would mean that someone could just buy votes. I get what you mean, Andrew. I really do. Um, yeah, all good, all good, all good, my friend. But if they're projecting it, usually they're right. I think there's certain times when they're wrong, but if they're projecting it, it's not so much that it's a really important as far as Wisconsin's concerned. Like it really isn't. It's just, should somebody be allowed to put so much money into the electoral system? I don't think so. I don't think so. Money needs to be taken out of the political system, not put into it. Purple says, save yourself a massive headaches, give your kids a break, and leave them home when you go on your trip. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with that, Purple. I know that my parents left the kids at home when they went on a vacation once, and we didn't have a problem with it. It was all fine. Oh, they were going on a guilt trip. I get it now. Yeah, and that guilt tripping is, I don't think the mother was trying to guilt trip her, but that was the outcome, right? She's saying, hey, he's all she's got is this trip because he was laid off. Well, that's not all he has. And if that is all he has, literally all he has, he needs to get out more or meet some people or do something else than live vicariously off another family. That's the thing. Like, if all you have is that family, like, which isn't your close family, it's your extended family, then you need to develop your own life more. You need to, have some interests. Even if your entire life is work, your entire life shouldn't be work, right? That's a really horrible way to go. Your entire life shouldn't be your religion. It's really weird. I was watching this thing last night and they were sort of talking, oh, what's your worldview? And they use this term a lot. What's your worldview? And it's really weird because as an atheist, I don't have atheism as my worldview. That isn't how I sort of encapsulate myself. I know that Christians do. I know that they say, hey, I'm Christian, and that is everything you need to know about me. It defines my entire life. Other people aren't doing that, and I'm not sure if they understand that. I mean, if they want to do that, that's fine. That's entirely their choice. Not sure it's that healthy, but, because there's other things. Do you play pickleball? Do you have hobbies? Do you, I'm a gamer as well. I enjoy video games. I like reading. I like debating. And not because I'm an atheist, because I just enjoy doing it. There's a whole bunch of things that I am. I don't define myself as just one thing. If you ask for my worldview, I will probably go to secular humanism, just as a way to sort of say, hey, this is my moral stance on most things. But that doesn't define me as a person like Christian seems to define a lot of people out there, or Muslim defines a lot of people out there. Yeah, I think that humans are way more interesting and sort of nuanced than that. I think that sort of religion is just one part of an entire worldview. I think it can vary a lot. Luke says, kids at that age can be very vulnerable. They're already dealing with their social circles at school. Yes. And an adult picking on them can be just as detrimental, possibly even more so from a family member. Yes, absolutely. And the adults in a child's life should be reassuring them that they are valuable, and they are, they are loved, valuable, precious, and have a lot of worth. Not just taking the piss from them and sort of putting them down. You've got a really good point there, Luke. I really like that. Yes, because if they're say getting bullied at school, for instance, and they're being told, hey, you're valueless and you're an idiot for listening to Taylor Swift, or whatever the bullying may be, and then that starts to get echoed in some way at home, that can turn really bad really fast, and it's not cool. You're absolutely right. I like that, Luke, because that is true. Even if they are being told that they're stupid and horrible for their interests at school, it's at home that they shouldn't be getting that. Oh dear. Let's Hum says, I was raised with two boys. Was I a perfect dad? No, but I did my best and learned from mistakes. Yeah, so parenting, I mean, I'm not a parent, but I do know that a lot of parents sort of, when you have the talk with them and say, hey, this was really bad for me at that age or whatever, they've got a tendency to go, well, I'm a bad parent then. And no, that's not the case. Every parent makes mistakes. Every parent does the wrong thing. It's something that parents have a hard time accepting, though, and that's the problem, that they can screw up completely and still be a good parent. That's the sort of dichotomy of it. A perfect parent that gives a child everything they want, that's not a good parent, because you know you can't just give a child everything they want. That will be a pampered and sort of a really bad child. We've seen children get everything they want and grow up to be trust fund babies with a sense of entitlement. It's absolutely horrific. So but sort of saying, hey, no, I acknowledge that was a mistake, but I was doing the best you can. That's more than acceptable. And Citizens United, yeah. I don't like the whole idea that money is political speech is awful, absolutely awful, just disgusting. Money out of politics, yep. No, take the kids, leave the brother-in-law. Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Andrew says, I watched all of Cory Buller's filibuster. I napped and such, but I have the open hope speech. Lola won't derail. No, that's fine, Andrew. I get you. Look, I really respect the filibuster where he actually talks about the subject for the entire time. I remember Ted Cruz doing a filibuster, and he read out Dr. Seuss and stuff. He didn't keep to the topic, and I can't respect that. I can't respect it. Birius, I don't see atheism as a worldview since the rejection of religious claims. Yeah, right on. Right on. Left-handed Jedi says, in my honest opinion, life is about balance. Too much of anything is bad. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Hey, Yudiv. Hey, friends who I don't know personally. Keeping it real. Hey, Yudiv. Good to see you. I always notice your comments where you're saying hi. It cheers me up, I got to admit. Purple says he needs some introspection on why he doesn't have anyone else. I think he should see a therapist for some help in how to have positive relationships. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you, Purple. And, obviously he doesn't have a close family. Why doesn't he have some sort of significant other or some other, love interest in his life? This seems like a problem with the way that he's going about things. The problem with these people is that they can never, or I shouldn't say that. Sometimes the problem with these kind of people is they never admit that the problem is them and how they're treating others. They would just go along blaming everybody else and saying, hey, you can't take a joke. It's not, A, it's not funny, and B, it's not really a joke. You're just being a complete douchebag. Beria says, it really irks me when Christians try to say that I'm co-opting their morality, especially when I say that I'm a former Christian. Yeah, no, I get that, Beria. It is kind of annoying, yeah. I think that the influence that Christianity has had on our culture has been significant, but there's been a lot of other influence as well, from Eastern influence. We're talking sort of the Taoist and the Buddhist kind of influence to, things like ancient Greek thinking had a huge influence on things because it was the sort of center of thinking in the ancient world. So, I think there's been a lot of different influence. This whole thing of, well, if you're influenced by Christian morality, if you were raised in, then you're stealing their worldview. No, not at all. Not in any way, shape, or form. Look, if Christianity has a moral that can get me towards my goal, like human well-being, right? If they have some sort of morality, well, why wouldn't I use it? But at the same time, if their morality sort of takes me away, then why wouldn't I reject it? And if I reject it, does that mean I'm stealing their world? No, of course not. But there's been all kinds of things that have contributed to morality over the years. Like, look at Gandhi and the sort of non-violent revolution that he did. And I'm not saying Gandhi's a great guy. I'm just saying that, hey, he really showed what could be done with that social contract I was talking about earlier, that the people just didn't work. They didn't work. They didn't contribute. The entire society was ground to a halt by the actions of one guy. Pretty wild. and overthrew the largest empire that the world had ever seen at that point. Gandhi did what America did without firing a shot. Wild, right? I have never performed or ordered a genocide. Thereby, I am more moral than your God. Yeah, the Old Testament God is a pretty obnoxious thing. Trumpet of Patriots Party. Any thought? I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Trumpet of Patriots. Is that a Trump joke that I'm not getting? Oh, is that the Palmer Party? Oh, for fuck's sake. Really? Really? Okay. All right. Ugh. I thought he was still like, what was he? He was, what was Clive Palmer's party called? Australia First or something like that? I can't remember what his stupid ass party's name was. I try to ignore Palmer as much as possible, quite frankly, but United Australia. It was UA, United Australia. Okay. So, Clive Palmer is an Australian mineral magnate. So he's basically a business leader with terrible, terrible ideas and a willingness to pump money into just about everything he wants done. He's basically the Trump. Oh, good night, Larry. Take care, mate. He's basically the Trump of Australia. Now, Clive Palmer had a run-in with my state, so he basically tried to influence people by suing them and using the court system. Sound familiar? Or basically trying to get into government, and he failed catastrophically. Absolutely failed. Almost everybody in Australia absolutely loathes the man. He's just horrible. Absolutely horrible. Yeah, it's just horrible. So the funniest part was is that a YouTuber in Australia called Jordan Shanks, also known as Friendly Geordies. I'm not a huge fan of him. I don't mind him. He's all right. And my wife really likes him. So basically called him a dense Humpty Dumpty and basically gave him the nickname Fatty McFuckhead, right? That's so Australian, like seriously. So he's known as Fatty McFuckhead now. He threatened to sue him, but he never did because Jordan Shanks pointed out quite rightly that he'd have to prove that he wasn't the things that he said, which was just hilarious. Like, that is so funny. Now, everybody can't stand him. I didn't know that he'd changed the name of his freaking party, though. I thought he was still United Australia. What a fuckhead! Like, just what a complete frigging wanker. Oh, you moron! Like, what? Okay, so on February 2024, the High Court. Now, the High Court is the highest court in Australia, right? So the Supreme Court's not actually the highest court. It's weird, I know, but it's the High Court. ruled that Palmer could not register United Australia Party again for the next federal election. Press conference on 19th of February announced he had joined Trumpet of Patriots. Oh, for fuck's sake. Palmer has announced that the party's policies are to be modeled on those of Donald Trump, and he plans to spend $90 million on the campaign. Just fuck off, Palmer. Like, seriously. I really, dude, what the hell? What an idiot. Purple says, if they value morality so much, they should be happy for everyone to use it, whether they share their beliefs or not. Yeah, but I don't think it is so much about the moral outcome, Purple. I think it's to do with their power. So a lot of the a lot of the things that I see that Christians do when they say, hey, we have them, they want to be the only ones that anybody listens to, like it used to be, because it used to be that churches and priests and clergymen were the voice of morality. They were the absolute arbiters of right and wrong. If a priest said, hey, this is wrong, everybody listened. You know, it was given that they would be the speaking from a moral high ground. But it's not like that anymore. If a priest says, hey, this is wrong, odds on the population's going to go, yeah, I don't think that's, we shouldn't be listening to the priest on matters of sociology. And I think that's true, considering their track record lately. No, I am not voting for One Nation. Pauline Hanson is terrible. Terrible person. Big Bad Mama and Pardon, okay, appeared in Bridges Magistrates Court to answer 4 charges of fraud and other dishonesty. Yeah. He's definitely a dodgy guy. Definitely a dodgy guy. Big Bad Mummer, I appreciate they went to the Unreasonable Man stream the other day and stood up for Earl. That was one of the craziest things I've listened to. Okay, no, go for it. The Christians want to be at, yes, exactly. That's what I think it is, that they did have a position of privilege where they could sort of lay down a moral agenda for everybody. But, as we've seen, they don't have any more grasp on morality than anybody else does. And in fact, the churches are kind of lagging behind everybody else, because everybody else is sort of like, hey, gay people are fine. They contribute to society. They do all kinds of awesome things, They're just people, and we should treat them with respect. And churches have had to play catch up on that. They're slowly coming around to, hey, maybe gay people aren't evil demons sent by God to ruin our families. You think? Give me 1 second. I do apologize. I'm just going to put a thing up for 1 sec, and I will be back. I just have to grab some water because my mouth is getting dry. 1 sec. Sorry about that. I am having a morally acceptable amount of water. Yeah, better. Don't forget to hydrate. Definitely hydrate. Yeah, I'm right with you. Perps. Hydrate, definitely. Yeah, okay, so how did the poll turn out? I gotta see. You lovely, awesome people. What did you think? Healthy morals. Yeah, I'm in total agreement. Absolutely. If the brother-in-law has no respect, then his desires to go on trips won't be respected. That's reciprocity, baby. More acid during these breaks? I don't I'm not sure what that means. I'm not 100% sure what that means, but I will. So I'm going to upvote that. That was a good one. And it's fossil shark teeth. Interesting. You know what? I saw a okay, tangents in the chat. I saw a skeleton of a moray eel the other day, like somebody explaining the skeletal features of a moray eel. They are insane. They're like aliens. They're like xenomorphs from Aliens, right? They've got this jawline with teeth in it, and then they have sort of these second set of, they're not really jaws, but they're hooks that grab them from inside. It's like a tongue, almost like a tongue with hooks that sort of grab stuff and drag them in, kind of thing, halfway down their neck. Moray eels are wild. They are alien. It's incredible. MAGA don't have even a grasp on reality. Yeah, I get that. I totally get that. Like, I don't know who is saying that, you know, I've seen people defend Trump, and it's like did he fulfill a single promise that he made to people? Like, I don't understand why. I really don't. Man, it's not their first teeth that are nightmarish. It's their second set. I didn't know they had a second set. Yeah, the inner jaw. Yeah. It's wild. Absolutely wild. Howdy, Freak. Good to see you, mate. It's absolutely wild. They have a second set of teeth. Just wild. I didn't know that. Anyway, tangents in the chat. Yeah, I did not know that. I found out. I found that out. Yeah, it's wild that sort of the MAGA people are still defending him when the entire financial system looks like it may collapse upon itself. Like, it is going downhill fast, like so fast. I don't know what they were thinking, that they thought, oh, well, we'll threaten people and they won't do anything about it. Like, I don't know, boycott our goods. But I was talking the other day about something I'd seen from Sally. Was it Sally Payne? She's a naval strategist with the Naval Academy in America. Just brilliant mind. Sort of continental powers versus maritime powers. That maritime powers are the ones doing trade. They're branching out, making alliances. They have a distributed sort of power when it comes to how they operate. They distribute their power. Sarah Payne, thank you. Yep, that's her. And continental ones are inwards looking. They try to consolidate power by taking land and just, sort of isolating themselves and things like that. And the continental powers are always lagging behind. They're just, in today's day and age, if you're not a maritime power, like Russia is a continental power, it just, is aggressive, it annoys and intimidates people, and then gets sanctions and just really screws themselves as far as, finance is concerned. So America is looking to be a continental power, and I don't understand why. Like, I've got no understanding of why. The thing that made America great in the 60s, 70s was its maritime power. It was it branching out and making alliances everywhere, supporting people everywhere, making trade routes, using that to create businesses that, I don't like. Let's go back to some kind of aristocrat, dark age sort of robber baron stuff. I don't understand it. I really don't. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Okay, fossil shark teeth. Am I the arsehole for refusing to drive if my wife is in the car? Refusing to drive if your wife is in the car? Does she backseat drive kind of thing? Is that oh yeah, worst backseat driver. Yeah, refusing to drive. Well, I mean, I guess you could say, hey, I cannot handle this anymore. Wow, that, to be honest with you, this sounds like it requires marriage counseling. You know what I mean? Like, this seems serious. If you are not even happy driving, I don't. Yeah, let's go. For years after we got married, I could never figure out why I'd be so angry and moody anytime my wife and I went somewhere. Then it finally clicked. I was only in a bad mood if I drove with my wife. My wife is the absolute worst backseat driver I have ever seen. Oh, that's rough. Doesn't matter how I drive, she still finds things to complain about. Really? Why did you go this way? If you went off that way, we would be there by now. You're driving too fast. You're driving too slow. You could have made that light unfucking real. That light was red and you blew through it. Can you brake any harder, idiot? Okay, if your wife's calling you an idiot, there's a problem there. Wow. There were 17 great parking spots and you had to choose parking spot 18, which is the absolute worst. You turned your blinker on too late. You turned your blinker on too early. Why are you accelerating so slowly? Whoa, it was necessary to accelerate that quick, etc. Okay. So for the past couple of years, I've refused to drive. I now make her do all the driving. And lo and behold, I'm no longer the grumpy person when we travel. She has now gotten upset that she is always driving and told me I need to at least split driving 50-50 with her. I told her if she could keep her opinions to herself while I was driving, then I would. She agreed. Okay, so you've basically came to a compromise. You've said, okay, well, we have to have an agreement here. And this is how you work out problems, right? You have a problem with this behavior. You say, hey, I can do this, but this is what. So it's okay to tell somebody, hey, you feel really bad when we're driving because of what you say. Or when you do criticize me heavily while driving, I feel horrible and that makes me not want to drive. What I'd prefer is that you not do that, and then I could drive and not, kind of thing. So last weekend I started driving. She couldn't even last 3 minutes without criticizing my driving. I pulled over and told her I'm done. Yep. So, yeah. Okay. So I get that you made an agreement and she couldn't live up to her end of the bargain. But you've got to be patient with people who have formed a habit of doing this kind of thing. I pulled over and told her I'm done. Either she takes over driving or we're going home. She eventually took the wheel. As she muttered that I drive like a moron. Wow, this is abusive. Even though there's only one of us who has any tickets and has at-fault accidents on their record, and it's not me. So am I the asshole for refusing to drive if she's present? No, but you guys seriously need some marriage counseling, and you seriously have got to stop letting her abuse you. I wouldn't take that from my wife. I would not. I have a boundary that I will not be told that I'm a moron, I'm an idiot. Like, that's not cool, man. That's not cool. That's abuse. I won't take abuse. Like, if someone's calling me names and I don't really know them, they're in a debate or something, I don't care. But if it's somebody I love and they're abusing me, I don't take that. There's no way. I will not. Like, that will end one way or another. And that's not an ultimatum. It's just saying I will maintain my boundary to make sure that does not happen. Right? So I will either talk about it with them. If they cannot stop abusing me, I will make certain that they're not in my life to abuse me. If that's the only way I can do it, then that's what I'll do. And that isn't an ultimatum. It's just me enforcing my boundaries as I have to in order to be happy in life. There's no way. Because it doesn't worry me if somebody that I don't really know is abusing me. But if someone I know and I consider, say, a friend or a wife, for instance, abusing me, no, that's not cool. That's not on. That's not right. That's not cool at all. No, I don't think he is. I think I don't. The only way I would say he's being morally wrong is that he's accepting this abuse. That I think he should do more. But by more, I think they really need some marriage counseling. They really need somebody, because the problem is that when someone is sort of like this, they usually won't take criticism from their spouse as far as their behavior goes, right? Like they'll sort of go, oh, well, you're just saying that because you're my spouse or whatever. Like it's very hard to do that from inside a relationship. So having a third person, a neutral party, which is usually a counselor, to say, hey, this is what I see, and there may be some behavior that he's doing that he will need to look at. But if they can say, hey, I'm a neutral party and I think this is wrong, he shouldn't be treated like this, that can be a lot better handled by somebody. And if you're in counseling and she just goes, well, I don't care, I'm going to call you an idiot and a moron, yeah, it may be time to end that relationship. That is horrible. Right. Not to drive. Yeah, and I can understand why. Like, you just want to drive around and not feel terrible about it. I get you. I get this guy. That's totally fine to me. I just think he should do more. I think he should go to counseling with his wife, and I don't know why it doesn't affect him that she's saying he drives like a moron or calling him an idiot. Like, that would really upset me. I would be upset. I would never do that to my wife. I would never say, hey, look, you missed that spot, you idiot. No. Not on. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just going to grab some more water. Man, I did a member-only stream, and memberships are available if you do want to come to the member-only streams. I went so long last time, I absolutely destroyed my voice. It was worth it. I was having fun. Yeah, okay, so top comment. She's calling you an idiot and a moron. Sounds like you came up with a perfectly reasonable solution. She can't complain about your driving and force you to drive and call you names. That's not okay. I think you did the right thing and you're not the asshole. Yeah. Yeah, no, that is the main thing. It's not even criticizing the driving that leads out to me at the problem. The problem is the deep lack of respect your spouse has for you. That's the major problem. Yeah. Not the arsehole. I have a tendency to be a backseat driver to my partner, but not nearly to this extent. Yeah, I mean, so everybody does that sort of at some point, right? They say, hey, I think a better way of being this way. But if someone's don't ask me about my army. It's a sexy army. You get out of here, left-handed Jedi. You get out of here. You're the reason it's a sexy army, left-handed Jedi. If I wanted to drive separately and told me the reason was because of how I treat him, it would make me reflect on how I'm treating him. Yeah, right on. You need to have a serious sit-down conversation with her outside of the car, and if she doesn't get it, then I wouldn't drive her. Yeah, and I think that you probably need. I think at this point, if she's calling you names, you need to have someone there. I'd never be able to handle my partner ever calling me an idiot or moron in almost any context. Possibly if I cheated or did something so terrible that he couldn't be expected to play within the bounds of reason. Yeah, I do see that happen. I mean, Lynn's called me an idiot for like in a fun context kind of thing, or just cheekily hassling me. But I understand that they don't mean it. They absolutely don't. Lynn does not mean it. I don't know if you're being this army to freak. There's a lot of bondage involved. Just saying right now. Not the arsehole. Have you talked two talked about not putting each other down, not belittling each other. I would never be with someone that called me an idiot. Yeah. That's not slight belittling either. That's heading towards abusive territory. Yeah, no, I think it's not heading towards. I think it is abusive territory. That is abuse. Not the arsehole, and your wife needs some therapy or anger management. Sheesh. And that I would probably recommend as well. Yes. Jane not knowing says, I try really hard not to be driven by my husband. He tailgates and is a very aggressive driver. So unless I'm incapable, I'll drive. We got home once with him driving and I got out of the car and threw up. So never again. Man, that is really, wow. Okay. That's rough. Yeah. I get how tailgate, like, I don't know. I've been in the car with people that tailgate. I used to hate riding with my dad because he tailgated, and like the person that you'll be pushing the brake on your side kind of thing. Because, you know, you're way too close to the other car. You're like hitting the brake that isn't there just out of reflex. I know that feeling, and it's awful. I would hate driving with him because, and what was worse? My dad would tailgate and he'd have a massive frigging rhubarb on his four-wheel drive kind of thing. This wrought iron rhubarb that would absolutely crush anybody that you know he would accidentally. You know, it just. I hated riding with him. I really did. And, you know, I can imagine the person in front seeing this four-wheel drive with a, you know, massive rhubarb at the back. You might call it a bull bar kind of thing, you know, looming behind them way too close. It's just really horrible. He doesn't really mind as he can have more than one drink, but there's been a couple of times he's tried to be the driver and I just won't get in the car. I'm not embarrassed to stand on the street and wait for him to get out of the driver's seat. Yeah, okay. Oof, yeah. Yeah, so bad you threw up. Good Lord, that's horrible. Yeah, wow. That's a thing. And drivers in Western Australia are terrible. Terrible drivers. Terrible. Okay, what have you people got to say for yourselves? Purple says, so let your wife drive, put on a blindfold, tip your seat back and tell her to wake you when you get here. Yeah. Or we can just do self-driving cars everywhere, to be honest with you, and then nobody has to drive. Just saying. DeFreak says you could keep driving to piss her off, actually. Well, that's one way to do it. Sure. Andrew says, wow, she likes to nag. Sounds like my mum. Okay, that's horrible. I hope your mum isn't calling you an idiot and a moron, Andrew. That sucks. That's poor. That's bad form. Bad form, Andrew's mum. So she can only handle it for 2 years? Purple says, the solution isn't needing a blindfold, but a gag. Yeah, fair enough. You'd have said it was probably better to work it out and explain the problem rather than try to piss her off. Yeah, that's true. DeFreak says, and was he nagging her too? I don't think so, DeFreak. I really don't think so. Berius says, well, she sounds like someone I'd love to be attached to the rest of my life. Yeah. I look, you know, people have their own tastes, their own preferences. I'm not going to comment on what people like or don't like. That is not the woman for me, quite frankly. You know, I remember going out on a date, and I was sort of asked out on a date by somebody I knew. I sort of knew them. They coached softball with a friend of mine, kind of thing. So she was a friend of a friend, basically. And she asked me out, and like I went out with her, like, to a restaurant, had a sit down meal, and she just insulted me the entire time, like, just poked fun at what I was wearing, poked fun at what I was ordered, poked fun at me in general, poked fun at what I was trying to say. And she was I think she was a biology teacher. And I'd sort of said, something like, when she was talking, I said, oh, really? That sounds sort of like that, multicellular creatures are just single cell, like a whole bunch of single-celled organisms working together. And she laughed at me for that because I didn't understand, multicellularity. And I was like, okay, well, there's no need to be like that. Like it was just horrible. It was a horrible date. Never saw her again. And I don't know really how she felt about that. Now that I sort of understand a bit more about reading people, I think she was kind of put back that I didn't want to go out with her ever again. Why would I want to? Like, it was just like I felt like, I felt like she thought she was at a roast. You know what I mean? Like, it was a bad date. It was horrible. I just did not want divorce immediately. Well, there's other things like this is the thing. Like, you sound like a Redditor, Luke. I'm sorry, but it's like, there's other things at play, like, I don't know, children and investments and, the rest of your life kind of thing. Maybe she is amazing in bed. Did you ever think about that? Maybe she is a absolute animal in the sack. Or maybe this is the only sort of quirk where she is mean and the rest of the time she's really supportive. Who knows? Who knows? It's weird, right? Like, but yeah, it could be going that way. Purple says, it sounds like driving is a symptom of something worse going on. Definitely need couple counseling. I would agree, yeah. If nothing else, there could be something worse going on. But even if it was just this one thing, then they'd still need couples. Getting somebody to moderate between them if they can't find a resolution is good. How about read a book while he's driving? Well, I think that she, it is a habit that she has, or at least a repeated behavior that she does this, that she has to criticize. If she can't make it 3 minutes without doing so, then it seems like it's a established behavior that is going to be hard to break. Andrew said, at this point, I may take nagging over loneliness. Well, it depends. It depends. Like, so like Lynn sometimes says, oh, am I nagging you kind of thing? I don't think so. There's a big difference between sort of talking to your spouse and reminding them of stuff or asking them to do stuff and nagging. Like, there's a big, big difference. If she acts that shitty about driving, what else she does do that's shitty? It's likely does not end there. I would agree with that, Beerius, but we don't know that for sure. We don't know that for sure. And plus, she may be an absolute animal in bed. She may be the best lays ever had ever. Maybe. It's amazing how much, especially when you're younger, how much you put up with, for good sex. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. It's amazing what some women will put up with from, like, when they're younger. As you get older, you realize, hey, it's really not worth it. Like, as you get older, you're like, yeah, no amount of good loving is going to make up for you being a complete prick. Like, it just doesn't. But I think that comes with age and wisdom. It just is something you learn. Andrew, Purple, I understand the feeling, but that's what got me into an abusive relationship years ago. Absolutely. Absolutely. And, having that self-respect, if sort of, I guess it's easy for me to say being in a committed long-term relationship, but, it's not like a bad relationship isn't going to substitute. Like, I think a bad relationship is worse than being lonely. I think that, being in a toxic relationship is horrible, worse than having no relationship at all. Because at least alone, you can work on yourself, you can work on other stuff, you can progress. Toxic relationships will often send you backwards. And that's really not a place you want to be in. I totally get that, Purple. I really do. Toxic relationships can break you. They can absolutely break you. But there's nothing wrong with having sort of, short-term relationships if you are lonely and stuff. I totally get it. I'm not going to judge people for doing that. The Freak says, just tell her to read a book while he's driving. I just saved 2 or 3 grand in marriage counseling. Yeah, well, I'm not sure it costs that much to freak, but you know, I get what you're saying, but it seems almost compulsive for her at this point, so that may not work. DeFreak says, if you're getting belligerent while someone is driving, do you think their driving is going to get better or worse? That's a very good point. I think that the stress will make them drive worse, but it depends what worse means, because he can't seem to find, you know, it sounds like from his description, his driving may be an outlet to vent all kinds of stuff, because there's, like, as he's pointed out, contradictory things has made her upset about his driving. So basically, I think he's saying it's not his driving, it's her. Andrew says, oh my God, she nagged during lovemaking. Don't get me wrong, I love when a lady tells me what she desires, but nagging, I don't know, I'd go limp. Yeah, no, I get you, Andrew. I don't know. Like, that is unclear. But yes, that would be a major boner killer for me. Yes. Look, I don't mind, you know, look, if you know, I think that talking and communicating while having sex is good, but if you're just, you know, absolutely nagging, that would be horrible. Purple says, seriously, ask her if she'd be okay putting a sleep mask and taking a rest while he drives. Well, maybe that would be a solution, but maybe it wouldn't, Purple. And that's why we sort of turn to counseling, because it may be a lack of control that she can't have. Like, she may have a problem with being out of, you know, not in control. Right. So if her issue is that she's not in control and he's, you know, she's trying to get control by trying to tell him what to do, there's no amount of sort of saying, hey, just relax and don't pay attention. That's not going to work. We've got to address the underlying problem. And I'm not saying that's the case. I'm saying, like, in this scenario, you know, it's one possibility that is the case. And if it is, sort of telling her to relax is like, you've got to address whatever trauma or issue or thing has come up that is causing that control issue, right? Just sort of saying, hey, relax and ignore it. That's not going to work. It never will work. DeFreak says, I guess I have one good thing to say about my ex-wife. Now that she never said anything about my driving, this sucks. Yeah. DeFreak says, obviously habitual. She learned it from her mother. That's not necessarily the case, DeFreak. I get what you mean. Like, a lot of behaviors we can learn from our parents, but that is not necessarily the case. It can be a trauma that does it. Like, just say she was in an accident where somebody else was driving, say a friend driving, and so she feels out of control anytime somebody else is driving. That kind of trauma can cause it. A childhood friend can cause it. Because we are mostly raised by our parents, we pick up a lot of the issues that we have from parents, but it's not always the case. It can be other people we pick that up from. A childhood bully, a family friend that did something to them. Like, trauma isn't always our parents. And that's sort of that's what Freud believed, the Freudian belief that everything comes from your parents. He was wrong. He was 100% wrong. That's what he believed. We don't use Freudian analysis so much anymore because not everything is your parents. Not everything. The fact that a lot of stuff is just because that's who raised you. There's a deeper issue that needs to be addressed. I would think so, Purple. I would think so. Beerius says he was absolutely justified to tell her to shut the F up. Yeah, I kind of think so. I think that, you know, sort of pushing back a lot harder is probably justified after he made an agreement and she broke it. That's probably one of the worst things. She made an agreement and then broke it. Now, I would probably have some sympathy and sort of say, hey, I realize this is a habit of yours, but you've got to stop. You know, if she pushed back, then I get where you're coming from. I do. Andrew says chloroform in the glove compartment. Says a secret spy device that sprays the passenger seat and knocks her out for the drive. Wow. The one time she's not on the internet shopping. Not all women do that. Not all women do that. Purple says Andrew. Purple endorses Andrew's solution. Okay, we need a Bond car with chloroform spray on the passenger seat is the solution. Wife needs to mellow out and let him drive. It seems like she can't. Like if you've had this conversation and she's agreed to stop criticizing while driving, and 3 minutes in she's doing it again, yeah, there's an issue there. It seems like she can't. Aunt Jess says there's no way this is the only time she shares like this. I would think so. I don't know that for sure. We don't know, but I kind of suspect that. I would agree with you, Aunt Jess. I really would. I thought we were talking about conventional army. No. I'm playing Warhammer Total War on my member streams and talking to everybody and having people on. So it's a computer game army, very sexy computer game army. Tilting says, this reminds me of my marriage just before we ended it. Yeah, no, I get you, Tilting. It's these small things that come up, but it's not really the problem, right? When relationships are going down. I mean, I've been in my share of relationships that have fallen apart as well. Not marriage, of course, but definitely relationships that have fallen apart. And you start to argue about small things, but it's not really the small things. It's what's behind it that's the issue. But I totally get you. You always have these petty arguments just before breakup. That's why we have marriage counseling and things. Luke says, how bad of a driver could he possibly be? I mean, he could be absolutely terrible. He could be terrible. Yeah, no, I agree, Udef. That is screwed. It's so bad. For the passenger, for the other drivers, it's horrible. It's horrible. The Freak says, I feel bad for that guy because, a lot of times a husband and wife will commute together, rush hour both ways. That would be tough. Yeah, kind of. It depends. It depends what you make of it. Like if you can, play music that you like and chill out and have someone to talk to, then it's fine. But yeah, I get your point. It is a stressful situation going through rush hour. Absolutely. Purple says they've been friends who are aggressive drivers to the point that it felt unsafe. Yeah, absolutely. And I will not travel with somebody that is inebriated. There is no way. There is no way I will enter that car under any circumstances. Purple says, what was that part about more than one drink? Is he driving when he's drunk? No. I don't think so. That was one part of the comments. It was basically saying that his husband doesn't like, I try really hard not to be driven by my husband. So unless I'm incapable, I'll drive. So she's basically saying that I drive and he doesn't mind, like the husband doesn't mind because then he can drink because he's not driving. So no, that's not what they're saying. I get how that could be misconstrued, but yeah, no, he's saying that they don't mind. Just not Tesla. They say, yeah, Tesla. It's not so much Tesla. It's the man in charge of Tesla. It's terrible. Yeah, no, I got you, Tilting. Maybe I didn't read it out the best, or maybe a bit quickly. I take the nagging backseat driver. It comes with good sex. Yeah, fair enough. Happy April Trolls Day. It's April the 2nd here to Freak. I'm sorry. It is not April Fool's Day. Sorry. You've missed your chance. It's not April Fool's Day on this channel anymore because today is the 2nd. Because I declare us on Australian time. Andrew says, I had a date like that with a girl who was shorter than my short ass and she couldn't get over how short I was and made a big deal out of it, but their friends told her to shut up and stop being mean. They thought I was cute, but I got my payback. Maybe I shouldn't have flattened her tires, but I didn't slash them. Look, to be honest with you, were any of her friends single? Like, if they're going to be good about it, it's amazing what some women have to put up with me. Look, okay, so yeah, and I mean, sometimes I say to Lynn, I don't know how you put up with me kind of thing, but I put up with her as well. This is the thing. it's not a case where you're going in going, hey, they have to put up with me, I'm all bad kind of thing. No, that's not the case. We all have our flaws, and you'll have to put up with their stuff as well. That's the thing. As long as you put up with what they do, they put up with what you do. And what you can't put up with, what you will not accept, that's the breaker. So, I get that women put up with what you've got, Judith, but you probably put up with what they've got, their flaws and issues and things. Beria said, well, you got a point there. I put up with a bad person in my life because she was stellar in bed. Yeah, no, me too. I get you. Wow, naked man runs through chat. Okay, join my army. Does it substitute no relationships? I mean, I got you all and my son. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's not like the only thing you have like the previous one. I get you. Luke says, I prefer loneliness to toxicity, especially I'm getting older. Yeah, I think there was a point in my life where I would have taken toxicity. Like, I was lonely when younger, and, I was so upset at being all alone and no one loving me kind of thing that I would have taken anything. But as I've gotten older, I've realized that isn't the way forward. That I will be worse off in the long run if I do take that kind of thing. Purpose says, I want to date again, but I know I suck at it. I can have good relationships. I can't have the good dates to get me into one. Okay, Perps, that's okay. But, I mean, what is a good date? Like, that's the thing. That is entirely subjective. That is entirely subjective. Some people think a good date is partying hard. Some people think a good date is having meaningful conversations. We all have different ideas of what it is. I don't think I can say, like, when I say I have a bad date, it's bad for me. I mean, it might have been great for her. She might have had a wild ass time, just enjoying herself immensely. It was bad for me. Friends with benefits. I don't have any problem with that. Like, this is the thing. If you want to have a friends with benefits relationship, I don't give a shit. Why would I care? But, I think that friends with benefits, you've got to understand that it is kind of short term unless you actually work to sort out some groundwork there. Like it rarely will last, and that's okay. Like, it doesn't have to if you don't want it to, but, as long as you're being open and honest about what your expectations are and what your commitments are, I think it's totally fine. I don't have a problem with it. Yeah, it is a good point. Yeah, the freak's got a good point. You're more likely to get into an accident. Yeah. Yeah, stressful people are more likely to drive badly and get into an accident. Absolutely. Don't stress people out. Jessica says, it's really scary to come to the realization that number one source of your mental health troubles are coming from the most important person in your life who you trust more than anyone else. Yeah, and that's a really good point, Jessica. Yeah, absolutely. That is very, very scary. That the person that you think is protecting you the most is actually the one causing you the most anguish. That is a horrible realization. And it, it just tangentially, it's a horrible realization to realize that you are causing a lot to yourself as well. That's a horrible realization, that your distorted view of perception is actually what's causing you a lot of grief, basically. But yeah, I get for relationships, sure. I think that my wife is the most supportive person and the most understanding person and the one who will comfort me first under any circumstances. And that's that's what I think it should be. That your partner in life is your partner in life, no matter what the problem is. It doesn't matter what it is. And that's really nice and really comforting. And yeah, being able to, if you're vulnerable with your partner and they do not support that vulnerability and care for that vulnerability, I don't want anything to do. Like, that is unacceptable to me in a relationship. I cannot be in that, because if I'm vulnerable, I'm hurt and I'm upset, and they hurt me again, no, that's a boundary. I cannot, no. DeFreak says, if the only thing your wife can nag and troll you about is your driving, you are winning. Or she could not nag you and troll you at all. That's another option, DeFreak. There are ways of going about things without nagging or trolling or doing any of this stuff and being a mature adult about things. Purple says, I hate driving, always happy to do someone else to do it. Hey, I like driving. I'm always happy to drive. Lynn doesn't drive, so I'm always happy to drive. I always drive. Lynn doesn't drive. She doesn't like it. She's panicked by it. She doesn't like it. No problem. I don't have any problem with that at all. She does not make it onerous for me to do so. She occasionally asks me to drive her places. Mostly she just catches public transport and sorts herself out. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. I have an agreement with her. I'll drive her anywhere she wants to go. All she has to do is work out the navigation, and that's it, because I suck at navigation. I'm good at driving. I'm bad at navigating. It's weird. It's so weird, but I'm terrible at navigating. I'm great at driving. I'm a fantastic driver. I'm a safe driver. I almost obsessively follow the road rules. But I'm a good driver. I've never been in an accident. Well, I was in an accident, but it was a person that, like, I stopped at the lights and they just clipped me from behind. It was just a what we call a bingle in Australia. I think we call it a bingle in Australia. It's Aussie slang. It just means a little, not a fender bender, just a bump, just a little bump, just a bump. God is dead. God is dad. Well, I hope so. I mean, he's known as the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. So I'd hope so. To be normalized, the 3 minutes in, she saw her mother nag. You don't know that, DeFreak. You don't know that. People are more complicated than that. People are way more complicated than that, my friend. They are very, very complicated. There could have been a number of reasons for this. The important part, even if it was, right, if she has her mother doing that and it's copied behavior, we want to find out the cause of it. But just saying arbitrarily, well, this is the cause, if it's not, like, I put one possibility that it could be control issues over her being in an accident, right? That is a possibility. If it isn't that cause, we want to get to the root problem. So you can't just say, hey, this is the root problem. Nighty night. Oh, is someone going? Is someone going? Okay. If you are leaving, good night, whoever. Not everything is my parents' fault. How does Warhammer get sexy? Well, you're going to have to be a member and find out, perps. Come to me. No, how does Warhammer get sexy? Okay, so there's a number of chaos gods in the game. 4 main ones. There is Khorne, Nurgle, Tzeentch, and Slaanesh. And I'm playing with the Slaanesh faction, which is all whips and bondage and things like that. It's basically a god of sensation, essentially, good and bad. So pain, pleasure, just intense feelings dialed up to 12, basically. So in the crew, there's in the army, there's a lot of nipple and leather and whips and things like that. Tilting says, way so much underlie our weakened marriage. Yeah, no, I get you, mate. I get you. And it's important, and that's where a lot of the time the sort of counseling fails. When you sort of argue about the thing that you're arguing about instead of the root cause behind it, because it's just a symptom of a bigger cause. And this happens a lot in all kinds of mental health issues. Like, we say, oh, I'm doing this behavior. I've got to stop this behavior. It's not the behavior. There'll be something that the behavior is a coping mechanism for, or some kind of reaction to something. It's getting to the root cause of the problem. And that is a lot harder to get at than what we think. Yeah. Getting in the car with someone who has manic episodes can be scary, I can imagine. 2nd of April, slowpokes. I agree. Tesla went cheap on their self-driving system, so they do suck. They make more mistakes than other brands due to the type of sensors they use. Okay, so my ideal world, and I know this is never going to happen, especially not in my lifetime, but my ideal world is that nobody owns cars, right? And hear me out on this, because I can imagine people going, oh, nobody. Okay. Maybe cars for off-roading and going out, like stuff like that. Maybe you can have them. But in my ideal city, I would have a series of roads like tracks almost, and you could call up and just request one of these sort of cars that are self-driving, and you would have a central district for organizing and making sure they go everywhere, but you'd just call up, get one, and go, like almost like a taxi service. That would be, where that's what I would like to see in some future idealistic city, like that, all sort of electric driven, just because if you think about it, so many cars just sit in driveways or sit in parking lots, just sit there doing nothing for an incredible amount of time. I think having a system where all of it is just managed by one authority that can just direct them to wherever they need to go, and just people use them. I think that would be awesome. Hey, it's just a thought of mine. An all self-driving kind of thing. But if there are no other cars except the ones in the system on the road, it would be a lot easier to avoid collisions and stuff like that. Toxic sex. Oh, look. Okay. Look. I get you. My late fiance convinced me I'm worth, so I will not accept anyone being toxic to me. Right on, Purple. Right on. And it's always the people that have low self-worth that try to convince you you're worthless. It's a projection thing. My idea of a great first date would be going to a museum, because there'll be lots of conversation starters in there. Absolutely. Hey, I'm a big fan of a museum date. Art gallery date? Absolutely. I'm right there with you. One of the best dates I had was at an art gallery. It's really cool. Oh, good. It'd be nice to go on dates again. There's nothing stopping you, Andrew. There's nothing stopping you, my friend. I get you. It can be really difficult. If the person is causing you a lot of stress, you need to question if they should be trusted with your safety. Yeah. Yep. That's true. If they aren't looking out for your mental well-being as well as your physical well-being, why do they hold a place of importance in your life? Like, if they're actually causing you grief. A good relationship is when, after having a fight, the next day one of you can come back and say you were wrong, as long as it doesn't always have to be the same partner. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and we're gonna screw up. We're gonna make mistakes. I've had to say that I'm wrong plenty of times. Yes. Yeah. And Lynn said she's been wrong plenty of times as well. It's okay. It's okay. If somebody can't admit that they're ever wrong, yeah, that's a problem, though. We're always screwing up. It happens. Probably big part of Mark being so solid, even as an atheist. Look, I'm not that solid. I'm kind of, I don't, why wouldn't an atheist be solid? What? I'm not sure what you mean by that. I'm so confused. I'm so confused. What up, Jake Fist? What up? How you doing? How you doing? Purpose says I suck at navigation. Also, read something that autistic people often have more trouble with mental maps. Yeah, I can see that. It's also like because I've got AUH AUDHD, and that's sort of ADHD and autism. It's its own thing. It has issues. It has issues. A love tap. I did not see the update. What was the update? Someone tell me. Someone tell me. What was the update? Are you okay? All hail the great David Attenborough. Oh, look, if David Attenborough, the most amazing thing I saw him do was look for a lyrebird in Australia. And a lyrebird, it's insane how amazing they are, how good mimics they are. It was like mimicking the camera shutter and a chainsaw almost perfectly. It's crazy. That was the best Sir David Attenborough thing I ever saw. Yeah, rip Attenborough. Oh, Nurgle is the father we should all follow. Look, everything ends with decay. Everything does. If I had to follow a chaos god, which one would it be? Interesting. Would it be Nurgle? I don't know. I would follow Zneach. I think it's just the randomness of that guy is awesome. Pro-life dips. Oh, ouch. Yeah, no, that sucks. Yeah. Get better soon, mate. Absolutely. Don't lean too much on the painkillers, but I understand where you're coming from, man. That sucks. Yeah. Problem with just starting up self-charged cars. Who would clean them between uses, and how would you prevent them being vandalized? Well, for a start, you'd probably have cameras in every car, right, that were linked back to the central office, so it would not keep storage of the you'd basically have them monitored. And plus someone would have to pull them up, kind of thing. Someone would have to call them up. So presumably you would know who called them up and have footage of whoever it is. But yeah, who would drive? Well, I mean, it'd be the government that runs them that would clean them, I would presume. For best me for the Science on Natural History Museum. Yeah, right on. Awesome. Well, you got this place over here called SciTech, and it does all these like science experiments things. Always loved it, even as a kid. If someone invited me to a date to a like SciTech, I would be so freaking excited. I'd be like a kid again. Like my favorite experiment was the centripetal force. Like there's just a seat you sit on and it spins around in a circle, and you put your arms out and you slow down, you bring them in and you speed up. Just awesome. Just fantastic. I'm right there with you. So good. So good. There is a money lack of ladies. I haven't noticed that. Yeah, I don't really care what Jeremiah says. The freak. Sorry, buddy. I don't really care. A break into pieces, man and woman. What the? Yeah, okay. When none of it makes any sense, God doesn't make sense to freak. God doesn't make sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. I don't. What? Isn't God not supposed to be the author of confusion? I don't know. There's plenty of sex in those cars. Look, all right, I'm not saying there'll be no sex in those cars, but if they're being like videotaped 24/7, maybe less than you would expect. I'm not saying none, because people are weird. People are, there's people like that kind of stuff. Oh, dude, dating isn't a market. Stop looking at things as transactional. Seriously, there's no market. It's just people. It's just people. And there's people out there that look for things in other people. That's it. It's just people. There's no market. It's not a you won't date a Christian. No, that's fair enough. That's a boundary. I get you. You are in the US though, Andrew, so that definitely limits the pool a little bit. Would I date a Christian? Yeah, I think I would. I think if they could accept that I'm an atheist, an outspoken one at that, I would. I don't really care. As long as they're a good person, I don't mind what their beliefs are. They can conflict with mine. That's okay. If they're happy to talk about it and stuff, that's okay. You know, if it depends what kind of Christian. If they're sort of a young Earth creationist, I don't think our opinions could meet. If they're just a mainstream sort of universalist Christian kind of thing, I don't think I'd have a problem with it. I really don't. They can believe in a God, as long as they're accepting that, hey, miracles aren't happening and science is the best way to describe things. If they just think, hey, I believe that Jesus rose from the dead, I don't think I'd have a problem with it. We'd probably have some conversations about it, but yeah. Yeah, if they were trying to convert me and stuff, I wouldn't be. Yeah, I get you. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying, Archer. Yeah, they can recall it back to HQ to have it sterilized. Yeah, and presumably there'd be laws that you can't have sex in the automated cars. Like, that wouldn't be a thing. Like, stop, but, I'm not saying it wouldn't happen, because there's some freaky people out there who like to be watched. And hey, I think that if you have a thing, that's fine. If it's affecting others, stop, please. Like, not everybody wants to see that. Please. Yeah, that's it. It's not a problem as long as you can sort of respect each other's opinions. I'll do one more because I'm feeling good. My voice is doing well, so I'll do one more because why not? I'm enjoying myself. Equivalent reality 12 from 10 hours ago. Am I the arsehole for not taking neighbor's parcel? For not taking your neighbor's parcel? I would say no. I've been in this situation myself. We have a next door neighbor. Yeah, we get along with him all right. He was sort of parking like over my side of, there's no line in our car park, but I was finding, I've got a very small car. I don't drive a big rig or anything. And I was finding there not to be enough room. So I knocked on his door and said, hey, do you mind? I'm just not having a lot of room. Could you please just park more towards the, your side? And he seemed amenable to that. I've never really had a huge problem with it. His kids are a bit loud, but they're kids. What are you going to do? Occasionally we hear arguments. I'm not one to judge. I don't have a problem with him. At the same time, I probably wouldn't go out of my way to be his friend either. But he just vanished one day, right? Like, he just wasn't there. And I don't know who's renting in my thing or who owns in my unit. I don't know who's who, so it didn't really worry me. But we saw a package on his door, like almost like just one of those just sort of bulky envelope things, like that would, I don't know what it had in it because we didn't take it or open it or steal it or anything, but it looked like something you'd ordered a USB drive in or something, and we left it there because that's his business. But we noticed it there for a couple of weeks, and we sort of went, well, we haven't seen him, we haven't seen his car, and there's a package there for him, and reported it. Basically, it probably wouldn't have been a couple of weeks. It'd probably be maybe a week, maybe 5 days or so that was there. Just, we went out a couple of times and just noticed it, so we're like, yeah. So we called up the people that run Strata, or the entire complex, and sort of said, hey, he's not there, kind of thing. There's a package in his door, and they said that they found out he was in hospital for something. So that was a relief that he wasn't, something hadn't happened to him. But we sort of said, should we grab the package for him? And they said, no, to leave it. And so we went, okay, we'll leave it. And then after he got out from hospital, came to our door saying, hey, was there a package? And we said, yeah, there was. We left it because Strata, the managers of the entire complex, said to leave it. They may have picked it up for you, kind of thing, but we don't know because we did what we were told to do. So I would say no. I think that with so many people stealing packages these days, I would feel hesitant to grab anybody's package off their porch. I sort of see it as, unless you know them, which I didn't know this person, I would leave it there for them. Like if I grabbed it and then he came back, it could be, I could be accused of stealing it, which I certainly was not doing, or I wouldn't do. So I kind of would understand. I don't think you'd be an arsehole for leaving somebody's package where it is, kind of thing. Anyway, that's my story. Let's get this guy's story. Background: a 33 male, have one child, 5 male, who I share custody with my ex. I currently live in a 2-bedroom rental on a quiet street with a row of only, hang on a sec, get into it. On a row of only 5 other houses along our road. I live at the end of the road. About 6 months ago, I took in a package delivered for the house at the other end of the row. The package was a heavy box containing a bag of dog food. Later that evening, the neighbor, 38 female, came to pick it up. I know she lives alone and offered to carry it for her. She accepted the offer and thanked me. And as I carried to hers, she kept commenting on the fact that I was being a gentleman. And it was good to see a big, strong man in action. She's hitting on you, sir. She is 100% hitting on you. Bit weird, but meh. I'm not that big strong, although I do go to the gym a few times a week to keep myself in shape. When I got it to hers, she insisted I come in for a glass of water and kept me there for an hour just chattering on. Yeah, did anyone else think that she's hitting on him? The same delivery has come to me every month since then. I mean, you said you have an ex. Share custody with your ex. Do you have a current partner? The same delivery has come to me every month since then. In the evening, she comes to collect. I carry it over to hers. Each time she'll try to chatter away at me inside the house if she can coax me in, or on the doorstep if I can find an excuse not to go in. Then last month, when she came to collect the package, my son was home with me. I couldn't take the box up to her as I was making dinner. She complained it was too heavy to carry herself and that would only take a few minutes. I refused, but offered to bring it up later that evening. She pouted and huffed and went home. Half an hour later, she posted a note through the door with her mobile number on it and asked me to message when I could bring it. I had to feed my son, give him a bath, play with him, put him to bed. Once I'd done all that, I finally messaged her. She didn't reply until the next hour, telling me she had been tired and fallen asleep. Then a few hours later, she sent through a long, rambling tirade. She told me I should have helped, that I was selfish. I obviously hadn't wanted to help her, as I could have asked her to stay with my son while I carried it. Fair point, though it didn't occur to me at that moment. And that if I really wanted to help, I would have messaged her earlier. This was all sprinkled with some very colourful language. I feel like her evaluation of their relationship is different than his evaluation of the relationship. I was in complete shock. I apologized and said I will bring it to her this evening, which I then did. Last week, the day came again for that parcel to arrive, and this time I refused to take it. She came banging on the door later in the evening and screamed at me for not taking the parcel, that now she had to find a way to get it from the company depot and that it was going to cost her a fortune. Oof. Not everyone along the street knows about it. Another neighbour, 58 male, has made it clear he thinks I'm the arsehole and threatened to complain to the landlord about my unneighbourly behaviour. Okay, that's a bit much. I don't really think I'm in the wrong. Am I the arsehole? Kind of, yeah. Well, that's a hard one. I wonder, how old is he? You're 33, my guy. My guy, I 38 female, yeah. My guy, she's hitting on you so severely and you're talking to her all the time. I don't think he's thinking of her as a friend or as, sort of a significant person. Is like that. She probably does. This has taken me a long time to work out, by the way. A long time to work out. I am oblivious when women are hitting on me. Absolutely oblivious. Or at least I used to be. I definitely was worse off when I was younger. I had no idea. Like, no freaking clue at all. Absolutely, completely oblivious to it. You know, I absolutely would have no idea that I was being hit on at all in any way. Like, I just think, oh, they just want to have a conversation. I now understand, hey, they just don't want to have a conversation, you know, and you know, yeah, like she's feeling like he is coming over to engage with her all the time, that he's interested. And he's not. He's not interested in the slightest. But I don't think he realizes that she thinks he's interested and she is incredibly interested. Again, like, I think this is a common theme with men. They don't realize they're being hit upon. And this whole thing of, oh, well, men have to make the first move, I think it's bullshit. I think that if you are interested in somebody, whoever that is, you should make the first move, and there should be no stigma associated with that. No sort of that doesn't say anything about you. It's really weird. I think that there's this whole, there used to be this stigma, if a woman asked out a man, she's just, easy and stuff. No, it's not. Don't be like that. I mean, I got a phone call randomly one afternoon from a girl I knew ages ago. And she sort of said, hey, I hit on you and I was absolutely head over heels for you. And I had no idea. I couldn't even remember her name, because I had no idea, not a clue. And it felt bad. I'm like, I'm really sorry. I don't really even remember you. Sorry. I'm so sorry. Like, it sucks, right? But she was nice, I just didn't even notice. And that feels bad. But, if she had said, hey, could we go out sometime? I probably would have, I probably would have. It's just, I mean, it just, I didn't get anything that would make me think she was interested. And, looking back now, I can probably say, hey, there's probably one or two hints that she gave, but at the time, I would have needed more than a hint. I really had no idea when people were giving suggestive hints. No idea. Absolutely no clue. So, and I mean, it was kind of flattering that someone said that, but at the same time, I felt awful because I couldn't even remember her name. I later remembered her name was Sarah, but at the time, I was like, I'm really sorry. I'm so sorry. Yeah, this is, and this kind of sucks for her. I get you, but at the same time, he's not being an asshole because he obviously has no freaking clue. At least that's what I think. Did I do the last thing? No, a post has healthy morals. Okay, yeah, no, I'm on board. I'm on board. And I'll just get another poll up for this one. Post to write, not to drive. Yes. You're actually agreeing with me, chat. This is good. This is awesome. Yeah, is he morally bad for having no idea she is interested in him? I don't think so. I don't think we could say that's morally bad or morally good. He's just, is he morally bad for prioritizing his son over her? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No way. Like, he's a good person prioritizing his son over some neighbor. I'm really sorry, but that is his responsibility. You know, I I think he's a great guy actually, because he is like, yeah, I will do this after I take care of my son because that's my priority. Good priority. Yeah. Wrong for not not accepting accepting packages. You know, it kind of makes me wonder. It makes me wonder how much she's ordering just to get him to, visit her place. You know what I mean? Like, is she just ordering crap from Amazon so he rocks up, with the package and she gets to talk to him for an hour or so? You know what I mean? Like, is that what's happening? Like, she's got like a closet filled with, shake weights and crap just that she doesn't use just because she wants to talk to him for an hour. That's kind of sad. I don't think he's, I don't think he's bad though. I don't know. I think that she's, this tirade at him. And he apologized and said it would take to eat. He's being really nice. He doesn't have to accept it, kind of thing. I don't think he's an asshole. I really don't. I really don't. I think she's just hurt. She's just hurt that he doesn't really know she exists, kind of thing. And he's just being a nice guy. He's just being decent to his neighbors. But at the point where she's insulting him and swearing at him and yelling at him, yeah, I don't see why I would do her any favors either. And I get that, hey, the neighbors might go, oh, she was head over heels with him and he treated her like dirt. He didn't know that. Like, you could tell he didn't know that. Come on, my guy, she is absolutely hitting on you. I love this. This is awesome. But yeah, I don't think he's to blame. I think he's just clueless. Being clueless and oblivious to romantic, suggestion, does that make you an immoral person? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's no way. Absolutely no way. What do the Redditors have to say? Not the arsehole. Neither leaving your 5-year-old unsupervised or being supervised over women he does not know, especially since it sounds like you don't really want that women in your house to begin with either, is unreasonable. Sometimes people have responsibilities that come before being neighborly. Sometimes people realize that something has moved from them being neighborly to another person taking advantage of the generosity. You had responsibilities that superseded your ability to be neighborly at that particular point, and your neighbor revealed she didn't acknowledge you were going out of your way to help her and that she felt entitled to that help, aka she was taking advantage. You stopped, which is an appropriate reaction. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Yeah, I do agree with that. Not the arsehole. The audacity of this person to demand that you help her every time because you were kind enough to do it once. She's acting like an entitled brat. If she does want to buy the dog food, it was dog food, was it? Okay. I missed that. How did I miss that? Bag of dog food. Okay, yeah. No, that's fair. Oh, I missed one. Not the arsehole. She's purposely having a package delivered to you. You don't work for her. At first, I thought she was trying to date you. Yeah, that's my first thought. You should never leave a stranger with your child in your house. To be honest, she sounds unhinged. I don't know about unhinged. Also, any neighbors complaining are free to come and bring the package to her. Yeah, that's true. With the comments about how she was totally flirting. Yeah, she was pissed off because she thought it was working and just found out it wasn't. Yeah, I kind of agree with that, but I don't think he has any idea about that. If she wants to buy the dog food and carry herself, just show you that sometimes no good deed goes unpunished. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, and you don't put up with people being, if you're doing a favor for somebody, you don't put up with them being abusive to you. That's not cool at all. That isn't cool. That's certainly not cool. Not the asshole. You did a night thing that you were under no obligation to do, and not only did she take advantage of that, she got mad when you couldn't do it because you were doing the thing you were obligated to do, being a parent. Her tirade nullified any polite social contract you may have made. Correct. As for the neighbor, suggest to him that it's so unneighborly not to do it, he should take no issue doing it instead. Well, he is old. Like, he is old, so there's that. Not the arsehole. She has been giving an instruction to deliver it to your home since 6 months ago. What if you are just not home? She can have left it at her door, side door, or behind something going forward, or she needs a rolling carrier. Yeah, that's a bit odd. I have to admit that is a bit odd that she's getting it delivered to his house. Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's see what you lovely people have to say. What have you got to say? Oh, it's mostly about self-driving cars. Yeah, I'm probably to blame for that one, actually. Um, so self-driving cars are cats? Apparently so. Purple says, if you take a package for a neighbor, leave a note so they know who has it. That's a good idea. That never occurred to me, but that is a really good idea. That's a really good idea. Pebble says they were definitely hoping he would ask her to dinner. Yeah, I would imagine so. And look, here's the thing: as I've gotten older, like asking somebody out or somebody to dinner or somebody on a date, it sucks, right? Like it sucks to be rejected, and that's why we don't do it. We're afraid. We go, okay, well, I want to make sure they're going to accept before I ask it. But that in making sure they accept kind of thing, you pass up so many opportunities. Like there's no problem with asking and being rejected. It's totally fine. You just say, hey, I really like your style. Do you want to go to dinner sometime or grab a drink sometime? And if they say no, just say, hey, no problem at all. Hey, all good. It's not a problem. It's just being okay with being rejected. I've been rejected heaps. I've been stood up before. That one hurt. That one definitely hurt. It's just being okay with that rejection. That's the trick. It's being okay with it and saying, hey, it's not necessarily about me. It might be where they're at. They might not be interested in any relationship. I might not be their type. That's not my fault. That's not my problem. That just is something that is like just being okay with saying, oh yeah, okay, that's not a problem. Just thought I'd ask. Didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. Just thought I'd ask. Is no problem at all. And it's interesting because I think that women like somebody that will accept their preferences and their things, as long as you can laugh it off and not make it a big deal. There's nothing worse than putting a woman on the spot and she feels like she can't say no because you might react unpleasantly or something. So a lot of it is in the framing, like sort of saying, hey, it's no big deal, but would you like to go to dinner sometime? Like frame it as it's no big deal. You can say no. Not a problem. And, trust me, you will look more attractive being mature enough to accept the yes, accept the no. You will look way more attractive being mature enough to act like a healthy adult and say, hey, it isn't a big deal. It's just, hey, I like you. We seem to get along. Do you want to go out on a date? It's not a problem. But hey, keep in mind, I have been married for a long time now. Maybe the dynamics changed. I don't know. Maybe I would suck if I get back into the dating pool. Maybe that would be a thing. I have been with my wife for quite some time, so I might be out of practice. I do acknowledge that. Have not asked anybody out for quite some time. I must admit. How many dead bodies is this woman ordering? Well, apparently none. Apparently it's dog food, unless dog food is like processed dead body. It's Soylent Green. It's Soylent Green brand dog food. Yeah, that was hard to say. Purple says she was hot for him and then got upset when he didn't respond the way she hoped. That's what I think too. That's what I suspect as well, Purple. I'm right there. Aunt Jess saying she's feeling rejected. She'll get over it. And you do. It's not the end of the world. It sucks. It does suck, but it's not the end of the world. And the thing is, the more you're rejected, the easier it becomes. It becomes really easy. But, it always stings a little. That's okay. That's okay. If it didn't sting, you wouldn't care about the outcome. If you don't care about the outcome, why are you asking someone out in the first place? You're supposed to care about the outcome. But the point is that you're trying to make is that it's not a problem for them if they say no, because you're going to get over it. You're just going to go, okay, cool, no problem, and get on with your life. It's going to sting a little. Sure. Yep. But it's not a problem for them. Men are 4 to 7 years behind women socially and over their lifetimes. Maybe on average. I don't know that as a sort of generalized statement. Maybe. I mean, I've seen some pretty immature women. I've seen some pretty immature men. So yeah, maybe on average, perhaps I would agree. I wish people could just be less subtle. Yeah, but it is. I mean, some people do like the play of flirting and that kind of stuff. It is something people enjoy. Some people enjoy, and that's okay. That's all right. I get you. It's just that if you like, the flirting and the, not being direct and being subtle and things like that, and some people do enjoy that, you can't get angry if they don't pick up on your flirting. That's the thing. That's the caveat. It's fine to do that, but don't get upset if people don't pick up on it. Like this person, maybe. Purple says, I'm oblivious too. If you're interested in me, you need to make the first move. You need to be blunt about it. Yeah, no, I get you, Purple. I'm a lot better than I used to be, but I still get you. I still need, a marquee and a friggin' banner saying what your actual intentions are, because in the past I have not spotted it. But I would have think she dragged it out to more than an hour every time after the fourth or fifth time. I might have caught on after she wanted to. Yeah, exactly. James Wolf said, that happened to me too, Mark. Too shy and too obtuse. Social intelligence, something I've had to acquire. Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Tori. Sorry, this is the last one, Tori. You came in late, but that's okay. That's all right. You're allowed to. You're allowed to come in late, early. You're allowed to do anything you want. Purple says, yep, he's clueless and she feels neglected. I'm on board with that estimation. I really do. Andrew says, sorry, my kid comes first over potential relations. As it should. As it absolutely should. There's nothing wrong with that, Andrew. I totally get you. And this guy, I respect him for saying, hey, I have a child. I am taking care of that child before anything else. Fair. Purple says, I thought it was a subscription delivery that was arriving once a week. Is there a subscription dog food service? I have no idea. You know what? It would not surprise me if there was. I'll put it that way. Like, dog food of the world delivered monthly. This month, Italy. It wouldn't surprise me. Seriously. I sometimes wonder how screwed up our civilization is, where some pets have better lives than some of the people. Like that really, it really worries me, to be honest with you. DeFreak says she's also a little entitled, think he is free labor, and the 54 meters across the way is going to tattle on him. Oh, well, why could he carry her crap? Yeah, no, he doesn't have to. He was doing something he didn't have to do. And at the point where she's making you suffer for it, you don't do it. That's fair. Andrew says she is a little not for just coming forward with her feelings. So guys are just very modest and either don't pick up or ignored signs of being hit on. Yeah. Some not so. Yeah. And seriously, do not listen to those like pickup artist craps that do the the negging and making women feel bad so they're attracted. Like seriously, it's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. It's absolutely horrible. Like, it's just horrible. Maybe the 54 meters across the way has already shipped them, is disappointed this soap opera isn't going the way he pictured. Yeah, maybe. Oh dear. Purple says, I don't think I'd feel comfortable enough to leave my kid alone with her. She would just have to wait. Yeah, I would kind of agree. I don't think I'd be comfortable leaving somebody, just a neighbor who I'd met 4 or 5 times before in my house. I mean, you've met them. You don't know them that well. Anja says dog food, not dead bodies. I guess it could be both. It could be both. The Freak says if a dog food is high maintenance, so that's not necessarily the case. Come on, the Freak. Purple says dog food is the easiest way to get rid of bodies. No, actually, the easiest way to get rid of bodies is actually a pig farm. Be wary of anybody that owns a pig farm. Like, seriously, they made that joke in what was it in? I think it was in Snatch or something. It was in a movie, but seriously, like, wow, that's yeah. Oh, that's pig food. Archer knows. They know. Wow. Okay, Archer. I'm even more scared of you than I was before. We went tangent. What? Absolutely. Absolutely. Dating advice from I know, Archer. I know. Look, all advice is just that. It's just nostalgia and personal opinion. That's all it is. That's all advice is. So don't take anyone's advice, including my own, that seriously. Hey, it's just my perspective on a thing. That's it. It's a lot different now. Old ways won't. Oh, really? So you don't tie a ribbon around her garter, and that does the thingo? Rejection is better than a backstab. Well, I'll agree with that. Sure. Yeah. James says the dating landscape has changed so much since I met my wife. It would feel so bizarre jumping on a dating site. I don't know. I haven't really thought about that, James. I think that, I think that I would go on dating site sort of oblivious to anything. And, I think that I probably would go on there aiming to have fun rather than, try to find my perfect match. I think, going on there and going, hey, I'm just going to have fun and whatever happens, happens would be the way I would go about it. And I think that would, I would just have fun. I think that, and this is just my opinion. I think a lot of people go on dating looking for the end goal instead of it's like enjoy the ride, there's the end goal of hooking up with somebody and getting a relationship and, all of that stuff that comes with it. But that doesn't mean that we don't enjoy the thing. It's about the trip, not the destination, I guess. I think that's how I'd go into it. But, like I said, it's been ages since I've done that stuff. So, yeah. I keep getting ads for Farmer's dog food. Farmer's dog food. It's fresh food made for your specific dog with their name on it. It's all mushed up and refrigerated. It's delivered to your door. That's fair. Purple says, my ex told me the kids would always come first. Then she got mad at me when I put the kids ahead of her. Yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. That's a problem. Andrew says, dating websites are worse than just going to the bar. At the bar, at least you can have a drink. Lol. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I haven't really used dating websites at all, so I couldn't say. I don't know. I'd like to date, but it's dangerous for me, and without Sloth Girl, I don't even have my safety backup. Yeah, that's fair. That's understandable, Perps, and much love, Sloth Girl. Miss her. That's fair, Purple. That's totally fair. Yeah, and of course, never go outside your own. If you feel uncomfortable or not right in something, 100%, you don't have to do anything. I totally understand. Totally understand. Being safe is the most important thing of all. Absolutely. I've talked to a lot of people who are deconstructing or thinking of deconstructing or, questioning religion and things. And number one priority is them being safe. It can be really unsafe to especially like if you're in the Muslim religion, it can be very, very unsafe to tell everybody that you're not a Muslim anymore. Really, really stressful, really hard to do. Number one priority, be safe. Absolute Purple. Be safe. We love you. You need to take care of yourself. Absolutely. Totally on board. Don't let anybody rush you into things, including me, including my dumb ass. Yeah, okay, let's have a look at the thingo. No, I'm not stupid. I'm just oblivious sometimes. There's a big difference. There's a big difference. And I know it. I know I'm oblivious sometimes, or a lot of the time. Look, I'm always the last person to hear gossip as well. I just don't pay attention to gossip. It just slides by me. I don't know why. It just does. Yeah, I kind of think that really? Oh, come on, Not a Freak. Come on. I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah, no, I don't. That in order to have a relationship, you're gonna have to have trust at some point. Yeah, no, I don't. I don't. I don't think that that's a good idea. No, I think that sort of confirmation bias can really skew our opinions of things. I don't think that's true. I don't think most people on dating sites are scammers and thieves. I think they're on there, but I don't think most of them are. I think that's really skewed. Well, I mean, that's a catfish to freak. That's literally known as a catfish. And ugh. Well, that was AIMBOT. I will call it there. Thank you so much for joining me. All the best to everybody. And, I mean, I may give advice. I may say, hey, this is what I would do and stuff. It really is just opinion. And that's all anybody's advice is. I think you've got to do what works for you. And, people saying, hey, this this is what I would do. This is good for you. This is this. You're really talking about a person's perspective, and they may resonate with you and it may work for you and it might not. Everyone's different. Everybody's got their own path in life. And we can disagree, and that's okay. That's all right. We can absolutely disagree, and that's all right. I can say, hey, I think this, and you can say, hey, you think that, and you can say, hey, yeah, okay, works for you, may not work for me. That's fine, not a problem. But so be patient with people that supply advice. They're not telling you what definitely will work for you. They're telling you what worked for them. And that is a different thing altogether. But at the same time, oh, absolutely. Look, that is absolutely true, Purple. You're only getting one side of the story. Absolutely. Usually I will say, hey, there's one side of the story. We have to take it as it's written, but there's always another side to it. And that's, we really evaluate it by the information we've got. And yeah, that's always something to keep in mind. But do be kind to yourself. Do be kind to yourself. Do be kind to each other. And I will see you. Oh, don't forget to like and subscribe and stuff that I forgot to say. Hey, here's a question. Because it's the 1st of April, do I have subscriberships? Will it count that? I believe it will. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second, because I haven't finished with you people yet. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Oh, yep. Yep. All right. Oh, I hit Apostate Sisters. I am a golden god. Look at that. And we have Apostate Sisters, Jack O'Lantern, MD, False Narrative Cults, and John the Brazen. Enjoy your emotes and other benefits, custom emojis and other benefits. Winner, chicken dinner. All of you, especially Apostate Sisters. Hey, I'm interviewing them soon. Let me get my calendar. I've definitely got it on the calendar. It's like Friday or something for me. Like Friday night for me, middle of the day for other people. Yeah, it's Saturday night for me, Sunday, Friday morning for other people. So 11 a.m. Friday Eastern time. Oh, YouTube won't tell you how to change the setting. Hang on, I remember this. Can I... Give me 1 second, Purple. I'll see what I can do. I will go to mine, and I think I can. I think I can show you. It may not come up on mobile. I think it may not come up on mobile. Okay. Hold it. Oh, yours is a branded account? Oh. Okay, well, let me show the peeps here. Oh, this is going to be wild. This is going to be wild. Check it out. It's an echo of some handsome man there. Okay, that was weird. That was weird. Okay, this is going to get funky. So you go down the bottom. Oh, you can't see the cursor? See the join that's flashing? Oh, this is just going to keep repeating. See the join that's flashing there? The join that's flashing down the bottom? So you do join and then go to the 3 dots up here, these 3 dots, and then go to gift settings. And then allow gifts you turn on. And that's how you turn all of them on, right? That's how you turn them on. So it's a real quick and dirty way to do it. I'm not sure if it's done on mobile. Yeah, okay, I'm going to stop that before it gets too. It will reach the infinite. It will reach the infinite. Watch out. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. And brand accounts, I don't think you can. And that's weird and stupid because why? I don't know. It's just weird and stupid. But yeah, so take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
This old switchboard could talk. Wow. Your ears would sizzle. 1880. We take Alexander Graham Bell's invention for granted today. Perhaps we should. But isn't it incredible that millions and millions of people can talk simultaneously to practically any spot on Earth?